Chapter 2460. In the Sky. The white-robed Huoxie stood in the sky. Surrounding him were tens of thousands of human experts in white robes, all of which were embroidered with flame marks. Hurry up and leave. Yi Zichen let go of the woman in his arms. The woman looked up at the man beside Huoxie, and tears flowed down from her eyes. Daddy! The girl waved her hand towards the sky. The man's eyes were filled with disdain, while his expression was filled with disdain. I'm not your father. Go live with that bitch. You bitch, you actually dared to leak the Empire's military intelligence to the enemy. I should have killed you before I left. You! The woman instantly froze. Yi Zichen patted her shoulder. He's already been corroded too deeply by the flame imprint. Don't mind it now. Hurry up and leave. My lord, please save my husband. Do your best. The man in the sky still wanted to kill them as he watched the mother and daughter leave. The moment he did so, Yi Zichen took out his sword and sent a strand of sword energy into the sky. No matter what, they are your wife and daughter. Even if your heart was devoured by Huoxie, you can't be so heartless, right? With that, Yi Zichen looked up at Huoxie. You finally came out. City Lord. Seeing the commotion, Han Qing and the others immediately rushed over. Yi Zichen stepped into the sky, and stood several hundred meters away from Huoxie. Han Qing and company also rose into the sky, and looked at Huoxie and company with bright eyes. Heh! With such a mighty army, it seems like the crusade against me is inevitable. Huoxie squinted his eyes and smiled casually. I didn't expect you to have grown so much in 3 years. It was quite a big mistake for the purge plan to not get rid of you. That's what I wanted to tell you as well. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes. The novice village purge plan. I have to say, Huoxie did everything perfectly. At the very last moment, the Virtual World Corporation and the Universe Union Bank called for experts. This caused the purge plan to fail. Not getting rid of Huoxie during that period of time was definitely a huge mistake. If I could have killed him then. Otherwise, this situation wouldn't have happened. Look at the people standing around him. From their eyes, it was impossible to see that they still had any semblance of intelligence. Ha ha ha! Suddenly, Huoxie threw his head back and laughed loudly. You really dare to fight me? Do you think I'm bluffing? In an instant, the 2 million vanguard soldiers all took out their weapons. A solemn and austere aura lingered above the city. The white-robed Huoxie watched silently. When he squinted at Yi Zichen, he seemed to have a venomous tongue. Letting Yi Zichen develop as he pleased was definitely his biggest mistake. Clearly, at the very beginning, crushing Yi Zichen would have been as easy as flipping his hand. There was no need to wait until now. They could already stand in front of him and clamor. All right. I accept you. Huoxie nodded. Yi Zichen also smiled. Is this white robe the morning clothes you prepared for yourselves? Morning clothes. Huoxie tilted his head. You're pretty good at what you said, but it's a pity that it wasn't prepared for us. Ignoring me, will you kill these people? Didn't you just promise that woman that you would rescue her husband? I only need to kill you. Yi Zichen reached out his hand, and a golden longsword appeared in his palm. The moment the longsword appeared, the heavens and earth changed. Ha ha ha, don't be in such a hurry. This time, I'm actually here to give you a generous gift. Suddenly, the town beneath their feet was ablaze with raging flames. The citizens in the city were instantly thrown into chaos. Yi Zichen looked down. Huoxie squinted his eyes. This white robe is actually prepared for them. How can I bear the sins of several cities? Just treat this white robe as sending them off. Huoxie! Ha ha, you should thank me. I slaughtered these useless animals. When the time comes for our real battle, you don't have to worry too much. I'll be waiting for you in the Empire in the core region. Sire. Han Qing frowned. Save them. Yi Zichen clenched his fist tightly and looked at the place Huoxie left. At that moment, the water elemental sprite had already left his body. controlled all the fire elements in the world. It started to rain cats and dogs. 7 cities. All of them were engulfed in flames. Even though Yi Zichen had already made the most urgent preparations, there were still many casualties in the cities, and countless citizens were buried in the sea of fire. Several hours passed. Only then did the situation in the cities get slightly better. Yi Zichen immediately contacted Chicano and told him to send people over to treat them. City Lord. The fire has been put out. The water elemental sprite played a huge role in putting out the fire in such a short period of time. It controlled the rain for a long time. It caused the water elemental sprite to feel tired. Yi Zichen quickly told him to go back and rest, then looked at Han Qing and the surrounding soldiers. Boarding. Dizhou, give me Huasie's exact coordinates. State Preceptor, why are you doing this? Is someone attacking the Empire? At the core region, the Emperor stood in front of Huasie, while Huasie sat on the throne. All the soldiers in the Empire had already been deployed to the surroundings of the cities, while the entire Empire was on full alert. Your Majesty, did you contact your father? Huasie squinted his eyes and asked. The Emperor nodded. I have already contacted my father. State Preceptor, someone is really attacking the Empire? Where did those lowly commoners get their guts from? Do they want to rebel? All right, let's not talk about this anymore, Huasie interrupted the king mercilessly. At that moment, he was also extremely worried. Hurry up and contact your father. I don't think that the Empire can hold them off for long with this bit of military strength. What Huasie did just now was to buy time for the king to find the true master of this planet. He had already gotten a rough understanding of the strength of Yi Zichen's vanguard. Honestly, he was a bit scared. These damned lowly commoners. Shut up! Huasie suddenly roared, then grabbed the king by the neck. If you don't want to die, then keep urging me. Do you understand? I got it. The king was so scared that he shrunk his neck. He held the communicator in his hand and repeatedly urged his father to come back. At the same time, Yi Zichen, who was on a spaceship, had already arrived outside the Empire. The tall city walls were so tall that one couldn't see the end of it. Yi Zichen looked up silently at the gigantic structure in front of him. Everyone, attack the city. Chapter 2461. Attack. 2 million vanguard soldiers charged out in full force. Once they did, they would launch an all-out assault. Yi Zichen didn't want to waste even a second with Huasie. He had to conquer the Empire as quickly as possible. The vanguard soldiers brandished their weapons and charged towards the city gate. In the blink of an eye, an hour passed. Your Excellency. Seuss walked up to Yi Zichen, his expression dark and unsightly. We can't break through, can we? During this time, Yi Zichen kept an eye on the situation. Huasie was determined to defend the city and not leave. The city's walls were harder to break through than they'd imagined. The city guards stood atop the walls, refusing to come out to fight. Just like that, they held their ground. In the end, this wasn't a solution. Yi Zichen could tell that Huasie was waiting for something. But even now, Yi Zichen still hadn't figured out what he was waiting for. Reinforcements? He'd already purged the outer cities. The only one still stubbornly resisting was the capital city of the Empire. If they wanted to fight a war of attrition, Yi Zichen couldn't tell that they wanted to fight a war of attrition. That's right. Seuss frowned and let out a long sigh. They won't leave the city at all, and our people can't get in either. I've already ordered them to surround the entire city. But that won't be much of an improvement. What do you want to do? I want to personally lead 1 million soldiers on a spaceship and fly over the city walls. We'll fight them inside. Seuss gazed at the towering city walls. The way he saw it, this was the best solution. If he let his soldiers attack the city on their own, the city guards would be prepared, and they'd inevitably suffer casualties. What they wanted in this battle was a complete victory. Every soldier's life was a precious asset to the upheaval alliance. As the commander, Seuss absolutely wouldn't let his soldiers make meaningless sacrifices. They rode on a stealthy spaceship. The guards on the city walls did not know about the existence of the spaceship, and they did not have any means of detection. Such a sudden attack was the best way to ensure that the people inside the city would not be harmed, and it could also catch the guards inside the city unprepared. All right. After a brief moment of hesitation, Yizichen nodded at Seuss's request. I'll arrange it right away. Wait. Yizichen let out a deep breath. I'll go with you, City Lord. Seuss couldn't help but ask with widened eyes. Just leave this to us. You can just wait for our triumphant return. Why do you still want to go to such a dangerous place? There's an old saying where we come from, lead by example. Yizichen smiled at Xios, then stood up from the rock and stretched lazily. As the city lord, I should be at the forefront. Moreover, I must personally deal with Huoxie. The grudge between Yizichen and Huoxie had been there for far too long. It was time to settle this grudge. Then this subordinate will send 50,000 people to follow you. Hugh spoke. No need. Yizichen laughed. None of you are as strong as I am. You sent 50,000 people to follow me, not to protect me, but to increase my burden. Do what you have to do. Remember, if possible, try not to kill those whose hearts have been devoured by the flame imprint. Of course, if our people are in danger, don't be soft-hearted. Yizichen didn't want to kill them. That was because Yizichen knew that they were Huoxie's puppets. They might not want war to happen in the first place. They were pitiful people. However, if Yizichen had to choose between their lives and his subordinates' lives, then there was no reason for him to not care about his subordinates. This subordinate understands. Seuss nodded heavily. I will do my best to deal with Huoxie and reduce your pressure. Yes, City Lord. Hearing that, Seuss immediately went to make arrangements. Gradually, people started to retreat from the surroundings of the capital in an orderly manner. Sire. At the capital of the empire, an old man with the appearance of a treacherous official scrambled into the kingdom's bedchamber. The king of the empire was still urging his father to act. Huoxie sat in the room without saying anything. Your Majesty, great news! The old man shouted. The people attacking the city outside have retreated. Our people have been holding the fort. They can't attack from the outside, so they seem to have retreated. Really? The king was overjoyed. He looked towards Huoxie, who was resting on the throne with his eyes closed. Grand Imperial Advisor, look. They've all retreated. Do I still need to urge my father? This planet is a fief that my father gave me. I didn't manage it well, so I kept urging my father to come. This also affected my image in my father's heart. The king's voice suddenly became softer and softer. In the end, there was no sound at all, because he saw Huoxie's gaze, which was emotionlessly glancing at him. Did you not hear me clearly? I told you to get your father here. But those traitors have already retreated from our city, the king frowned. The king frowned. If the empire is not in danger and my father is here, he will definitely punish us. Are you going against my arrangements? Huoxie asked. Of course not, Grand Imperial Advisor, the king sighed. It's just that I think. I don't need you to think, I want me to think. Huoxie squinted his eyes at the old man in front of him. You said they retreated? Why yes. Oh. All of a sudden, a ball of fire ignited in Huoxie's hand, which he chucked onto the old man. The old man screamed miserably as he was burned by the flames. The king trembled as he stood nearby and watched his loyal servant get burned alive by Huoxie's flames. All right. No one said that they retreated now. Your Majesty, please treat it as if they didn't retreat. Huoxie looked at the king with a smile. The king subconsciously gulped. Yes, Grand Imperial Advisor. What Huoxie didn't know was that Yizichen definitely wouldn't retreat so easily. The grudge between the two of them, would definitely not end until one of them was dead. Retreat. I don't know what they're up to. If I don't go find the old king now, then what are they going to use to defend when Yi Zichen attacks? At that moment, Huoxie placed all of his assets on the old king. He's back. It's naturally a happy ending. If he doesn't come back, no. He will definitely come back. At that very moment, before Huoxie could close his eyes, not good. The enemy has entered the city. Chapter 2462. Huoxie, who was sitting on the throne, frowned. They were attacking. The crowned king was scared out of his wits. He stared at the guard in front of him. What did you just say? Didn't they retreat when they attacked? The king's tone was starting to sound hysterical. The guard kneeling on the ground shook his head. I don't know either. Someone opened the city gate. Huoxie frowned and asked, Didn't I tell you to defend the city and not open the city gates? No one is opening the gate. The guard's face was also filled with confusion. We don't know what's going on either. Suddenly, a lot of enemies appeared in the city. At this time, our southern and western parts of the city have already been occupied. Boom! Just then, a loud explosion sounded from outside the palace. Hearing this voice, the king fell to the ground and crawled under the bed without a care for his status. The enemy is here. The enemy has charged in. Father, please save me. State Preceptor, what should we do? The eyes of the guards in the bedchamber were also filled with solemnity. Previously, there was the defense of the city walls, but now the enemy had used some kind of demonic technique to break into the city. The entire royal city was in a state of panic. The personal guards had already come into contact with the enemy, but from the looks of the situation, they did not have any advantage at all. If nothing unexpected happened, the entire royal city would be occupied by the enemy in less than an hour. At that time, they would have no chance at all. State Preceptor, take the king and kill your way out from the west gate. We will also protect your safety with our lives. The guard said solemnly. We can't get out. Huoxie smiled when he heard this. Since Yi Zichen had already slaughtered his way into the city, how could he possibly let him leave? He must have kept a close eye on everyone in this city. It was impossible to leave this city. How long can the personal guards outside last? Huoxie asked with a frown. About an hour. Why is it so short? As soon as Yi Zichen set out, he left. He then began to organize the forces on his side. Right now, there were over 1 million personal guards in the city, all of them at the pinnacle of the star system and universe level. Inside King City, there was still a large number of guards. The guards were all nebula grade and above. They could also control fire elemental energy. In terms of battle strength, he could completely compare to a universe level 4 and above expert. Even though Yi Zichen's side had the advantage in numbers, how could they control the entire royal city in such a short period of time? It had to be known that it took them half a month to conquer those unguarded towns. The defenses were so strict. King City, which had millions of guards, actually took less than 2 hours to completely fall. This was simply a fantasy story. In Huoxie's opinion, relying on the defense of the city walls, they could at least resist for half a month. Even if they entered the city now, they should at least last for more than 4 hours. That's several million guards. Even if they were several million steamed buns, it would take Yi Zichen and company several hours to eat. Are you afraid to fight? Huoxie grabbed the guard's shoulder and scolded. Unbeknownst to them, Huoxie was also panicking at this moment. Everyone in King City was his slave, so he should know best whether they were afraid of battle or not. But if he wasn't afraid to fight, he really didn't know how to explain the situation before him. An hour? Yi Zichen's men would be able to charge into the palace in an hour at most. Grand Master, it's not that we're afraid to fight. The guard clenched his teeth and explained. The enemy's overall strength isn't bad either. They are on par with the personal guards. However, their equipment is simply too good. All of them are wearing cosmic system level purple tier equipment, which all have very high fire resistance. They aren't afraid of our fire at all, and just charge forward despite the fire. Their overwhelming advantage in equipment makes our men unable to fight back at all. Also, they have a weapon that can instantly kill any experts below the 3rd level of the cosmic system level, and heavily injure anyone below the 9th level. Only the universe level can withstand it, but even they can't last more than a few hits. Huosie's heart instantly sank. Then he looked down at the king, whose head was completely buried in the bed, and squinted his eyes. Go out. Try to defend against the enemy as much as possible. Buy more time, understand? With that, Huosie's eyes flashed with a red light, while the flame mark on the guard's back shone brightly. Yes. We swear to defend the dignity of the Empire. The guard charged out with bloodshot eyes. Huosie watched him leave, then patted the hidden king. The enemy is here. The enemy is here. The king, who was hiding under the bed, kept muttering. Your Majesty. Grand Master, the enemy is charging in. Hurry up and find a place to hide. The king's eyes were filled with fear. Your Majesty, come out for a moment. Huosie said calmly. The king slowly crawled out from under the bed, and the fear on his face had already reached an extreme level. Grand Master, what is it? I just wanted to ask, how long will it take for your Majesty's father to reach you? Huosie smiled. He hasn't replied yet. Then is he already on the way? Huosie asked gently. Father said he would come a long time ago. The fear on the king's face did not decrease, and he couldn't help but tremble as he listened to the sounds of fighting outside. That's good. Huosie suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, and nodded with a smile. The king was not as indifferent as he was. Grand Master, it's still unknown when father will come. I think it's better for us to hide well. Your Majesty is right. Huosie nodded, but there are enemies outside. After they come in, they will also carefully interrogate us. Your Majesty, how do you think we should hide? Do you want to hide here? I don't think this is a good place to hide. Where does Grand Master have to hide? The king said. Actually, I think. Huosie smiled and put his hand on the king's head. Suddenly, the king's eyes became empty, and his whole body softly fell to the ground. Also at this time, from between Huosie's eyebrows, a ball of fire came out. This ball of fire swayed in the air twice, and then burrowed into between the king's eyebrows. Not long later, the king, who had fallen to the ground, stood up again with a smile in his eyes. As for Huosie's body, it never got up again. I don't know where the king should hide, but I know very well where I should hide. Chapter 2463. State Preceptor. The king in his bedroom scratched his head hard. What are you trying to do? In his mind, he could hear Huosie's whisper. This made the king, who was already terrified, even more fearful. Why do you want to enter my body? Sir King, I'm just hiding here for a while. Huosie's voice sounded in the king's mind. I'm your most trusted state preceptor, right? Of course, you're my most trusted state preceptor. The king nodded. I believe you've seen how much I've sacrificed for your kingdom. Of course. Then this subordinate will hide in your body for a while. Can't you satisfy this subordinate's little request? The moment Huosie's voice fell, the king subconsciously answered. Of course you can. But the king had never encountered such a situation before. There were other people's souls hidden in his body. If that was the case, then who did this body belong to? Was he the king? Or was Huosie the king? The king was weak, but that didn't mean he was a fool. He was very clear that in terms of strength, he was definitely not Huosie's opponent. Now that the two souls were in the same body, if they wanted to fight for control of the body, he definitely wouldn't be able to win against Huosie. What's there to worry about? Huosie laughed. King, just be at ease and be your king. This subordinate has no interest in your body at all. You can be at ease. I just want to hide here and wait for the situation to blow over. This subordinate will naturally come out. Don't you trust me? I trust State Preceptor. The king swallowed his saliva. Then that's good. If you trust me, there's nothing for Sir King to worry about. Yes, I'm not worried at all. On the king's neck that was covered by his long golden hair, a flame imprint slowly flickered with light. The king who had a grudge slowly let down his guard. He no longer felt fear for Huoxie hiding in his body. State Preceptor, what should I do now? The king sat on the chair and muttered to himself. Huoxie laughed and said, The king should still do what you should do. For example, sit on the chair and wait for the enemy to attack. Then rest assured, with this subordinate here, how could I let the king get hurt? All right, I believe in the Grand Preceptor. As soon as he finished speaking, the king, who was about to be scared out of his wits, suddenly acted out of character. He no longer thought about hiding, but instead walked out of the bedchamber and walked straight into his palace. He sat on the throne and looked straight ahead. That's right. That's how a king should be, Huoxie said with a smile. Only with the Grand State Preceptor here can I feel at ease. The king sat in his chair in silence. After that, no one said anything else. Huoxie didn't destroy the king's soul, but left it in his body, allowing two souls to exist in one body at the same time. He did this for a reason. As long as the king's soul was not destroyed, it proved that he was still alive. Even though Yi Zichen knew that Huoxie was in his body, if Yi Zichen didn't want to kill the innocent, he would have to be careful. Of course, more importantly, it was to deal with the king's father. Huoxie arrived at this empire. In the beginning, he wanted to build his own empire. As long as he was given a few more years, this empire would be completely under his control. By then, it wouldn't matter if the king was dead or alive. Even if the king's father came, he wasn't afraid. He just hadn't expected Yi Zichen to arrive so quickly. Yi Zichen's appearance had disrupted all of his plans. In order to survive, he had no choice but to contact his father. But if the old king returned, he'd definitely sense the changes within the empire. Even if he killed Yi Zichen, he'd deal with Huoxie all the same. Huoxie wanted to live. That way, he'd have to fuse his soul with the old king's son. Only then would he have the right to negotiate terms. The flames of war raged on outside the capital. Hu's plan for a surprise attack was very effective. After the Upheaval Alliance's vanguard army entered the city, it instantly descended into chaos. Thanks to their superior equipment, the city guards and personal guards couldn't do anything to the Upheaval Alliance's vanguard army. Even the guards who'd gone to report were wrong. Never mind an hour. They couldn't even hold out for 20 minutes. The vanguard army completely overran the city. The gates opened wide and the vanguard army entered. The entire city was now under the Upheaval Alliance's control. The only place they didn't go was the royal palace of this royal city. I'll leave the city to you. I'll go to the palace myself. Yi Zichen glanced at the majestic palace not too far away. Yes, sir. City Lord. Hu nodded solemnly. Yi Zichen narrowed his eyes and slowly walked into the palace. As he made his way to the palace, there were still many guards and personal guards stubbornly resisting. When they saw Yi Zichen appear, they all hefted their weapons and charged him, but Yi Zichen waved them off into the distance. Whoosh! Scorching flames bore down on him. Yi Zichen smiled, reached out and grabbed the flames. Instantly, his body was engulfed in raging flames. You want to play with fire with me? You're far too weak. If only Huoxie had come. The flames instantly swallowed up the surrounding guards. Yi Zichen grabbed one of them by the head. Speak. Where is Huoxie? I swear to defend the glory of the empire. The guard gnashed his teeth and roared. Suddenly, his body began to expand. The guards and personal guards around him did the same. Self-detonation. Yi Zichen narrowed his eyes, his expression filled with disdain. He waved his right hand. Those who were about to self-detonate all felt their consciousnesses being sealed. Isn't it good to be alive? Why do you have to work so hard just to be a puppet? Your families are all waiting for you to come home." With that, Yi Zichen pushed away the guards in front of the palace and walked towards the palace. "Huoxie, come out. I've already taken over the capital. You have nowhere to hide," Yi Zichen said softly towards the palace. Although he spoke very softly, everyone in the kingdom could hear him clearly. The calmness in the eyes of the emperor, who sat on the throne, turned into panic. "State Preceptor, what should I do?" "Your Majesty." During this period of time, this subordinate suggests that you urge the old king. You will only be truly safe when he returns. Of course, don't worry, this subordinate will definitely do his best to protect your safety, Huoxie reminded. The king nodded, then held a communication device in his hand. "I believe in the state preceptor." However, at that very moment, before the king could send the message through the communication device, the gate to the palace was kicked open. Yi Zichen slowly walked in with his hands in his pocket. Found you. Chapter 2464. In the solemn palace, the golden-haired king sat up straight on his high throne, while his pupils twitched as he looked at Yi Zichen, who had just destroyed the palace gates. "You. Just who are you? Why are you organizing rebels to rebel against this king's rule? Do you know that you have committed a heinous crime?" Little kid. Yi Zichen, who stood below, frowned as he looked up at the king. "Huoxie, you really are something. You want to harm such a small child?" The king in front of him looked like he was 12 or 13 years old. His face was filled with immaturity, and the crown on his head didn't seem to be particularly harmonious. Golden curls. It made him look like a noble of the kingdom. It was a pity in the end, he was still too young. He did not have the domineering aura that a king should have. "This king is not Huoxie," the teenager shouted. "I know you're not. Why are you yelling at me?" Yi Zichen tilted his head and looked at the young man. "I'm talking to the guy in your body. Huoxie, do you really think that I won't be able to find you if you hide in his body?" "Heh!" Suddenly, the young king let out a cold laugh. "Brat. I acknowledge you. Your growth has truly exceeded my expectations. Do I need to thank you for your approval?" A cold light flashed in Yi Zichen's eyes. "Hurry up and come out of this child's body to die. I can give you a quick death. Don't even think of harming the state preceptor," the young king suddenly shouted. Looking at the youth's expression, his words were very serious. Yi Zichen glanced at him, and had a rough idea of what was going on. Most likely, this king had also become Huoxie's slave. "Did you hear that? It's not that I don't want to come out, but our king doesn't want me to come out." Fire laughed wantonly. "He is willing to use his own body to protect me, how can I refuse the king's grace?" As he spoke, Huoxie controlled the king to stand up. "If you want to kill me, you'll have to ask our king first. Look at you. You think you've got me?" Yi Zichen smiled. "Now that my soul has fused with the king's soul, if you want to destroy my soul, the king's soul will also be destroyed." Huoxie laughed. "You think I wouldn't do it?" "Heh, you can try," Huoxie said disdainfully. "Don't blame me for not reminding you. The king's father is heading to this life star. He will arrive soon. If you want to take action, you should hurry. Of course, if that lord sees you kill his son, I believe that you will not have a good ending." Ha ha ha. Suddenly, Huoxie's loud laughter came to an abrupt halt. Yi Zichen didn't hesitate at all. He stomped on the ground and charged towards Huoxie like an unsheathed sword. Reckless fool. With that, Huoxie, who was hiding in the king's body, also gained control of his body. He raised his palm, and all the fire elemental particles in the palace gathered around his body. "With just this bit of control, you still want to control the fire element?" Suddenly, a disdainful whisper came from the palace. Shortly after, the fire elemental sprite stood in the middle of the palace and gently hooked its finger. The fire elements that had gathered around Huoxie were all thrown into the fire elemental sprite's embrace. It's you. Hosea looked at the young man below in shock. He never would have thought that the fire elemental sprite, who was not even a teenager, had already grown into a youth in just a few short years. The fire elemental sprite's control over the fire element was several times better than his. Wanting to control fire in front of Yizichin? With the fire elemental sprite's help, Hosea didn't even need to think about it. Yizichin waved his hand and dispersed the fire elemental particles around him. Hosea clenched his right fist and punched towards Yizichin. Dong! The two fists collided. Intense energy fluctuations were released from the center of their fists, and the entire palace was turned into a mess under the impact of this kind of energy. Peak of the universe! Hosea's pupils contracted. He had already sensed Yizichin's strength from the clash just now. Same to you. Yizichin smiled and shrugged. I didn't think that Hosea hadn't been slacking off and had reached the peak of the universe as well. We're both at the peak, I'm not afraid of you. Hosea's fists turned into afterimages. Yizichin squinted his eyes and nimbly dodged all of the attacks, then grabbed Hosea's fists. Are you sure? The moment Yizichin clenched his fists, he activated the rune stone system. Power surged into his arm, causing him to slam Hosea's arm onto the ground. Hosea, who was still in a daze from the slam, was still in a daze. This is fire. Do you understand, idiot? The fire elemental sprite pressed its finger down, causing a ball of fire over 100 meters wide to descend from the sky. The ball of fire was completely white. Yizichin could feel the heat of the fire even from several tens of thousands of meters away. As the ball of fire descended, the entire palace began to emit black smoke. By the time the ball of fire completely landed, all of the metal in the palace had melted into liquid. Boom! The huge ball of fire instantly engulfed the entire palace. Yizichin and the fire elemental sprite stood in the air and looked down at the blazing flames, as well as the charred surroundings. When did you get so good at controlling fire? Yizichin tilted his head and asked. The fire elemental sprite smiled. It's all right. If there were no accidents, the fire elemental sprite's fireball could completely burn Hosea to death. Even though he was once a fire elemental commander, this sort of high-level fire elemental wasn't something he could handle. Of course, the young king was going to die with him. Yizichin couldn't let his guard down until it was all over. Yizichin had been paying attention to his surroundings the entire time to see if Hosea had taken the opportunity to sneak out. However, to his surprise, a burly man walked out of the flames. There was a full beard on his face, and he was carrying the unconscious young king in his arms. Yizichin could sense that Hosea was still alive, and was still hiding in the young king's body. Emperor's Star, expert. The fire elemental sprite frowned as he spoke. He felt a heavy sense of oppression from the middle-aged man in front of him. Of course! You can even withstand fire. You're definitely an expert. You might even be a commander or a titled expert. Yizichin squinted his eyes and smiled. The middle-aged man silently placed the young king on the ground, then looked up at Yizichin and the fire elemental sprite. You're a deity? The middle-aged man muttered, then took out a sword. If you can withstand one of my attacks, then I'll let you go. Of course, your subordinates will have to die. In the future, don't come to my life planet ever again. Chapter 2465. The middle-aged man looked to be in his early 40s. She exuded grace and nobility from head to toe. The moment he looked up, it was as if the entire world was trembling. They couldn't bear the middle-aged man's high head and the gaze that seemed to pierce through the Milky Way. Commander level. Up in the sky, Yizichin saw through the newcomer's strength. For some unknown reason, the look in Yizichin's eyes changed for some reason when he reached the level of a middle-aged man. He seemed to be secretly delighted, but also seemed to be sighing. What he was happy about was that, in the second universe, the strength of the experts seemed to be much weaker than that of the first universe. To be able to own a life star. From his face and words, Shi Yan could feel that he didn't only have one life star. Such a life star lord. His strength was only at the commander level. Don't think that in the first universe, a Star Lord's strength was only slightly above a universe level. However, they shouldn't forget that they didn't own this life star. They were just the people who owned this life star. They were sent here to manage the planet. Just like that young king. They weren't the true owners of this life star. Taking the Blue River star as an example, the one who truly used that life star was the master of the Banao galaxy, or perhaps even higher. With such a comparison, the second universe was too weak. The instant Yi Zichen saw him, Yi Zichen believed that, given his current strength, he, too, could possess a life star. Or even more. That was what he was secretly pleased about. As for his sigh, he sighed because this person was a commander-in-chief. This didn't make him feel excited at all. In fact, he wasn't even interested. Imperial Star. The fire elemental sprite frowned. Yi Zichen shook his head, then slowly descended from the sky to stand less than 10 meters away from the middle-aged man. Behind him, the fire elemental sprite hurriedly landed as well. It was extremely tense, and all the cells in its body seemed to be tensed up. He glared at the middle-aged man. His eyes flashed with seriousness. "Are you the master of this life star?" As soon as he landed, Yi Zichen's gaze was filled with pity. "What?" The middle-aged man placed his hand on his waist. He took out a golden longsword from his belt. The long sword hummed. Yi Zichen couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he saw the sword. "Good sword. You don't have to tell me that." The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with coldness. "I want it." Yi Zichen pursed his lips with a smile. The middle-aged man's eyes darkened, and a strong pressure was released from his body. "Uncle Luka. Kill him. Kill him for me." Not far away, the young king had already regained his spirit. With the appearance of this middle-aged man, the flames just now did not cause any harm to him. When the middle-aged man heard this, he turned around and a look of disgust appeared in his eyes. "Looks like you can feel it." Yi Zichen smiled. "I thought you wouldn't be able to sense it because you weren't strong enough. Your gaze just now made me rather happy. As you can see, there is someone in this king's soul that I must deal with, and that is why I came here." "So what?" The middle-aged man frowned. "He is my nephew. As for the soul within his body, I will deal with it. However, I will not let you touch a single hair on his body." "Where did you get your confidence from?" Yi Zichen tilted his head. "If I'm not confident in front of you, wouldn't that be laughable?" The middle-aged man could tell at a glance that Yi Zichen was merely a peak expert in the universe. He marveled at how a deity could gain such power in such a short amount of time. His strength was indeed not bad on this life planet. Unfortunately, that was all there was to it. He didn't need to worry about Yi Zichen at all. Yi Zichen's strength was the source of his confidence. "I know. You invaders with the title of deity can leave at any time. But when I arrived, I looked around, and your subordinates. They all seem to be natives of this planet. I'm amazed that our life planet gave birth to someone like you while my brother and I were gone. You even united the natives and formed a force that cannot be underestimated. But if you think you can take over our life planet just because of that, then you're gravely mistaken. If I want to, I can make your people, your millions of people, disappear from this world in the blink of an eye." The middle-aged man's tone was filled with confidence. When he heard that, Yi Zichen's lips curled into a smile. At that moment, as if sensing that the leaders of both sides had already met, the Imperial Guards and personal guards rushed over. Xios led Yi Zichen's subordinates into the palace. As well. "Second Star Lord. Your Excellency." Both sides' voices shook the heavens. Dizhou walked in front of Yi Zichen with a shovel in hand. Han Qing also looked solemnly at the middle-aged man. "You're not this planet's Lord of the Stars?" Yi Zichen wasn't affected in the slightest. He frowned at the middle-aged man. I want to know just how strong your Lord of the Stars is. You don't deserve to know, the middle-aged man interrupted coldly. The golden longsword in his hand trembled even more violently. All you need to do is remember this strike of mine. Catch it and you can live. Of course, you can also leave right now. In any case, the people behind you are going to die. They're your people. Are you willing to let them die? Said Yi Zichen. I don't need people who want to rebel against us. The middle-aged man was already charging up his power. He was going to use this strike to pulverize Yi Zichen and the 2 million vanguard soldiers behind him. He wasn't boasting. As a commander-level expert, he had this kind of power. If he wanted to, he could do it. The vanguard soldiers looked forward, but there was no hint of fear in their eyes. They believed in the city lord. Do you see that? My subordinates and your subordinate. Yi Zichen looked at the middle-aged man mockingly. Even if you're charging up your power, my subordinates are still as sharp as swords. I haven't even attacked your subordinates yet, but they're already scared out of their wit. But they can live, but your subordinates must die. As a commander-level expert, how could he be swayed by a few words? Yi Zichen nodded, then squinted his eyes and smiled. How about this? It's too easy for me to block your strike. There's no challenge at all. How about you block my strike? If you can, I'll kill myself. Ha ha, you think you're worthy? The middle-aged man laughed wantonly. Yi Zichen's expression remained unchanged as he shrugged. Let me ask the heavens for a strike. Chapter 2466. As soon as he said that, countless gazes turned to Yi Zichen. He'd become the focus of everyone's attention. They watched as he raised his right hand into the sky. For a full half a minute, there was no movement at all. The vanguard of the Upheaval Alliance continued to stare up at the sky, while the Imperial Guards and personal guards smiled mockingly. Ask the heavens for a sword. I think he's been scared silly by the second Star Lord, yet he's still asking the heavens for a sword? It's so funny. He's stubbornly holding on to his face. Maybe he wants to die a little more gracefully. Don't talk nonsense. Divinities can leave this place. He probably wants to put on an act with his subordinates so they can die a natural death. Mocking laughter filled the air. In the face of such mockery, Yi Zichen's eyes maintained a warm smile. His hand remained raised in midair, his fingers splayed. The vanguard didn't waver in the slightest. What on earth is Boss trying to do? Dizhou couldn't resist his curiosity. He'd secretly used 20 million star coins to divine what would happen next. Very quickly, he furrowed his brows and stared at his empty hand. I refuse to believe it. This time, he tossed out 100 million. F***ck. What on earth is going on? He'd tossed out 100 million star coins. Forget divining the future, he couldn't even see a single image. That was to say, to divine the future, he'd need countless times more than 100 million star coins. He looked at the money in his pocket. Yi Zichen had left him quite a bit of money, but he really didn't want to spend it like this. Should I try one last time? After a moment's hesitation, Dizhou decided. 10 million galactic dollars. That was equivalent to 100 billion galactic dollars. Dizhou refused to believe he couldn't see such an enormous sum. Screw you. Still no reaction. Now, he even suspected that there might be some problem with his function. 100 billion. How many chicken legs would that cost? Wouldn't it taste good? How much longer are you going to keep up this farce? At that moment, the second Star Lord shook his head. My time is precious. I don't have time to play around. Either get the hell out of my sight right now, or die. What's the rush? Yi Zichen tilted his head and revealed a warm smile. You're the first person I've seen who's so eager to die. Yi Zichen narrowed his eyes, then pursed his lips. Sword to the heavens. It has to communicate with the heavens. Otherwise, why would he lend you the sword? Then how much longer do you want to communicate? He's here. Suddenly Yi Zichen clenched his fist. The moment his voice faded, the entire life star began to shake violently. Countless people looked into the void. Then, they saw something above their heads, or rather, above Yi Zichen's palm. Wisps of golden light converged towards a single point. Gradually, the golden light condensed into a dazzling golden sword. The body of the sword seemed to carry the power of 1,000 caddies. The moment it condensed, the entire palace collapsed. Thick dust engulfed everyone. Everyone could barely see what was happening in front of them, but they could still see the dazzling glow of the golden sword. His expression changed drastically. Just a second ago, all of the imperial guards and personal guards wore mocking expressions. Now they were overwhelmed with terror. Even the second Star Lord. His expression was grave as he watched the golden sword descend upon them. I absolutely can't let this sword fall into his hands. This sentence lingered in the mind of the second Star Lord. He stomped on the ground and leaped into the void. He grabbed the hilt of the golden sword. This sword is mine. The middle-aged man laughed without restraint. Unfortunately, less than half a second after he grabbed the golden sword, a powerful force slammed into his chest and forced him back several hundred meters. Look, you're too greedy. I already told you I asked the heavens for this sword. It's a weapon bestowed upon me by heaven and earth. How could you possibly steal it from me? If you want it, you can try asking for it yourself. Yi Zichen narrowed his eyes. The second Star Lord furrowed his brows. The force of the impact just now. He felt his blood churn in his chest. If Yi Zichen really had gotten his hands on it, even he might have found it difficult to resist. This sword. It was simply too strong. What kind of demonic arts did you use? The second Star Lord roared. Demonic arts? Yi Zichen grinned. You're quite interesting. I asked for a sword from the heavens. How could you call it demonic arts? Which of your weapons isn't a gift from heaven and earth? It's just that the tone of the gift is a bit nicer. Do you know what that means? Heaven and earth are proving to you that I am the true child of destiny of this planet. This planet should have belonged to me. What I need to do now is to take back what was rightfully mine. The child of destiny, the future Lord. Instantly, the vanguard of the Upheaval Alliance knelt to the ground, their voices filling the air. Their deafening roars shook the Imperial army, and they couldn't help but retreat. Yi Zichen grinned at the second Star Lord. Sorry, but the true master of this planet has arrived. Die. At that moment, the second Star Lord hefted his weapon and swung it at Yi Zichen. There was no way he was going to believe this nonsense. This planet belonged to him and his older brother. How could it possibly have some bullshit child of destiny? Even if he was. So long as he killed Yi Zichen, they'd still be in charge. Rumble. The surging sword energy seemed to cut through the void. Behind the sword energy, the second Star Lord gripped his long sword and attacked. Your Excellency! Han Qing and the others couldn't help but shout. Yi Zichen maintained his smile. As soon as the sword energy reached him, the slowly descending golden sword landed in his hands. Yi Zichen waved it lightly. The sword energy was cleaved in two. At the same time, Yi Zichen's golden sword blocked the second Star Lord's advance. What are you doing? You said one strike. Why did you break your own rules? With that, Yi Zichen's golden sword flipped through the air. I'm different from you. I've always been a man of my word. If I said one strike, I absolutely won't do it a second time. Instantly, dazzling golden light burst forth from the golden sword. Yi Zichen swung it. It seemed to carry with it a myriad of galaxies. Wherever the sword energy passed, not even a blade of grass grew. Guards, personal guards, and even the second Star Lord. The sword energy devoured them all. From today onwards, this planet is mine. Chapter 2467. The sword light descended. Yi Zichen looked back, but didn't spare her a second glance. He twisted his neck. As countless people watched, the second Star Lord was swallowed up by the sword light. The Imperial Guards and personal guards. They all seemed to have gone mad. They wanted to run, but they didn't know where to go. In the end, they could only cover their ears and squat on the ground, not daring to move. "Let's go." Yi Zichen smiled at the onlookers. There was no need to watch the second Star Lord's fate any longer. The moment he'd swung his sword, the result had already been decided. He had to die. This was Yi Zichen's confidence in his own strength. It was also his confidence in his sword godhead. The peak of the universe. With enough talisman stones, his overall strength had long since surpassed that of a cosmic-level cultivator by tens of thousands of times. Back in the city, he'd used up all the talisman stones he'd accumulated over the past 2.5 years. He'd improved his talisman stones. He'd gained control over his godhead. This was the source of Yi Zichen's confidence. The way he saw it, no one below the titled level could match him. He could deal with them. One strike. That was enough. What the hell? Dizhou was dumbfounded. No wonder he couldn't divine it. How could he divine such a dangerous strike? Divine it at least a few billion galactic dollars? Or even more? Han Qing's eyes were filled with emotion. He'd been one of the first to follow Yi Zichen. It could be said that he'd personally watched Yi Zichen get to where he was now. Back then, when they'd first met, Yi Zichen was still at the domain level. Even Han Qing was only at the cosmic system level. Even so, given his strength, he could be considered one of the best in the surrounding villages. Now, the upheaval alliance was growing stronger and stronger. He'd gone from the star level to the universe level, while Yi Zichen had surpassed him. He was now strong enough to slay a commander-level expert with a single strike. He'd chosen to follow this person. It really was a wise decision. City Lord. Child of Destiny. Countless vanguard soldiers looked up and cheered. Yi Zichen's strike just now had an enormous impact on them. There was no one more loyal than their lord. Strength was something that made them even happier. That sword. Perhaps anyone who saw it would never be able to forget it for the rest of their lives. Even in their twilight years, they might still tell their juniors how earth-shattering their Alliance Master's sword had been in the past. Just as Yi Zichen turned around to leave, the vanguard troops outside also opened up a path, their eyes filled with respect and reverence as they looked at the Alliance Master before them. The fire elemental sprite could not help but raise its eyebrows. Even he hadn't expected the Emperor's star to reach such a state. During this period of time, he had been hunting vicious beasts. In order to obtain the power of the universe, over the past 2 years, not only had the 5 elements elemental fairies' strength greatly increased, but the godhood within Emperor Star's body had not fallen behind either. In fact, it was even showing signs of surpassing them. The fire elemental sprite recalled the flames he had released. Even though that ball of fire wasn't his full strength, it was still relatively serious. The middle-aged man was not injured at all, but now, he was annihilated by a single sword strike that had condensed godhood. The fire elemental sprite admitted that its power was no match for a divine spark. It seemed it couldn't afford to slack off. It had to work even harder to increase its strength. Otherwise, the 5 elements elemental fairies would fall far behind. Sooner or later, they'd be left far behind by the Emperor Star. They'd become dispensable accessories. Right, Emperor Star. Suddenly, the fire elemental sprite, who'd only taken a few steps, spoke up. Yi Zichen turned around and glanced at him. His eyes were smiling. How could I forget about him? As he spoke, Yi Zichen's right hand reached into the air behind him. The young king was just about to take advantage of the chaos to escape. He felt as if someone had grabbed him by the chest. His entire body flew backward uncontrollably until Yi Zichen grabbed him by the neck. Let go of me. The young king struggled with all his might. Quite a few of the Imperial Guards and personal guards gripped their weapons with bloodshot eyes. Let go of the king! Ha! Xios laughed coldly. Instantly, the vanguard experts glared coldly at the Imperial army. If you don't want to die, don't get in our Alliance Master's way. Our Alliance Master is merciful and doesn't want to kill you. You'd best be tactful. How about Vanguard? In an instant, the Vanguard experts gripped their weapons and aimed their laser guns at the Imperial soldiers' heads. Yi Zichen didn't care at all. He grabbed the young king by the neck. What? Huoxie, are you not going to come out? Let go of me. The young king struggled with all his might, but his expression quickly changed to one of pleading. I beg you, let me go. This is all the Grand Imperial Advisor's plan. It's all because of him. The one you want to kill is him. Just kill him. I can promise you that after I leave, I definitely won't seek revenge on you. Or you can imprison me on this life star. This place will forever belong to you, as long as I can live. The young king's words were filled with humble pleading. When he saw his second uncle die, he no longer had the courage to resist Yi Zichen. I really don't want to kill you, but unfortunately, your soul is fused with Huoxie's. Yi Zichen let out a long sigh. Let Huoxie come out. He's not coming out, the young king said anxiously. Then what else do you think I can do? Yi Zichen clapped his hand towards the young king's head, causing the two souls to leave the young king's body. The clear soul was fused with fire. This fire was Huoxie. The only thing that surprised Yi Zichen was that the king's soul was so pure. A human's soul could not be deceived. Such a pure and clear soul, the young king really isn't a bad person. He was just bewitched by Huoxie. Let me go, let me go! The young king in his soul state shouted with all his might. Yi Zichen's hand actually hesitated a bit when he saw the pure soul. Brat, can you kill me? If you kill me, then this little king will die with me. Ha ha ha, he's an innocent person. Can you bear the sin of killing the innocent? Ha ha ha, brat, you can't do it. Huoxie laughed wantonly. At that moment, a hint of a smile appeared in Yi Zichen's eyes, while lightning flashed in his palm. Huoxie was stunned when he saw that. Then, he shouted like a madman. You can't kill me, you can't kill me. If you kill me, this king will die as well. You don't even. Do you really think that the sins I bear are few? Yi Zichen looked at Huoxie and the young king with a cold gaze. For my clansmen, for the future I want to protect, these sins are nothing to me. With that, Yi Zichen patted the young king's head. I'm sorry, if you want to hate. Come and hate me. Chapter 2468. Lightning in Palm. Like silver snakes, they bit into the souls in Yi Zichen's palm. In truth, Yi Zichen could destroy the souls in an instant. But he didn't want to. The way he saw it, if he killed Huoxie so easily, it would be too easy for him. Purge. Death of millions of human martyrs. How could he face those who were killed by him if he died a quick and painless death? Perhaps the king was innocent. Yi Zichen said he was willing to bear this sin. Ah! The young king screamed in agony. Huoxie, who'd fused with the young king's soul, roared in pain as well. You can't kill me. How can you kill me? You killed the innocent. Aren't you afraid of the heaven's wrath? Why should I be afraid? Huoxie looked at the souls in Yi Zichen's palm. The moment the lightning started tearing into their souls, he tried to break free. Unfortunately, he was already fish on the chopping block. He'd made the worst possible decision. If he'd stayed in his own body, he might have been able to rely on his position as the commander of the fire elemental spirits to help him fight for a bit longer. That way, he'd be able to hold on a bit longer. The moment he decided to enter the young king's soul, there was no way out. In terms of control over the fire element, the young king's body couldn't withstand Huoxie's full power at all. Furthermore, after the king's soul fused with Huoxie, it was a burden to Huoxie. He'd placed all his bets on the two-star lord. Unfortunately, The two-star lord was no match for Yi Zichen. He couldn't even cause him any trouble. When he died, not even ashes were left behind. From that moment onwards, he'd already lost. Brat, I won't let you go. I absolutely won't let you go. Huoxie howled in agony. His face was twisted beyond recognition. I'm telling you, I'm the commander of the fire elemental spirits. So long as the elements don't die, I'm immortal. Wait for me, I'll definitely come back for you. Boom! Suddenly, as if he'd given up all hope, Huoxie gathered all the fire elemental energy in the world and detonated it in Yi Zichen's palm. The instant Yi Zichen self-detonated, his fire elemental sprites appeared around him, covering him in a fiery robe and gathering large amounts of fire elemental essence around his palms. So it is. No matter what, the fire elemental commander Huoxie was at the pinnacle of strength in the universe. One could only imagine the power of his soul self-destruction. In less than half a breath's time, the fire elemental fairy absorbed all of the fire elements in the surroundings, greatly limiting the range of the explosion. Everyone hurried towards Yi Zichen. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Drops of golden-red blood dripped from Yi Zichen's palm. One hand. It was completely destroyed by Huoxie's self-explosion. Imperial Star. City Lord. Big Brother. Countless people widened their eyes, and their eyes were filled with terror. Military Doctor. Xios looked up and shouted. Not long later, countless medical personnel rushed over to treat Yi Zichen's palm. From start to finish, Yi Zichen remained expressionless. He looked up at the sky above him. At this moment, he suddenly laughed. Emperor Star. Lil, Fire, we finally have a life star as our foundation. Don't you think so? Yi Zichen grinned. For some reason, the corners of his eyes started to moisten as well. These few years. In order to obtain the power to protect the Milky Way, he racked his brains. He thought of everything. The more he knew, the more insignificant he felt. He couldn't find anyone he could rely on, so he ran for his life. Now, he finally had a life star that belonged to him. This life star. It gave him confidence and confidence. It was the firmest conviction to protect the Milky Way. With this life star, he could fight for even more. Yeah. The fire elemental fairy let out a deep sigh when it sensed Yi Zichen's emotions, then looked up at the sky. We finally have something to stand on. We have the right to plunder the universe. As the fire elemental fairy sighed, Yi Zichen thought back to his past. Back when he was still with the Milky Way Master. To be honest, it really hadn't been as difficult as it had been for Yi Zichen. Back then, the Milky Way Master had been the young master of a star system. In terms of experience and background, he'd far surpassed Yi Zichen's. The Milky Way Master had led his family to greater height. Yi Zichen had started from scratch. Although he'd gotten some help from the outside world, he still couldn't deny how hard he'd worked. Yi Zichen's efforts couldn't be denied. Not everyone would be able to succeed after obtaining these things. After Huoxie's death, the flame imprints on the guards and personal guards of the Empire also disappeared. The moment the flames disappeared, the expressions on the faces of many people changed dramatically. At that moment, Yi Zichen looked at the guards and guards. You might not have noticed, but you've been under the control of that so-called Grand Preceptor this entire time. Now that Huoxie is dead, the slave imprints on you have disappeared as well. You can go back now. Your family and friends are all waiting for you. You're letting us go? The Imperial Guard's eyes were filled with disbelief. Not long ago, they'd been enemies of the Upheaval Alliance, and they'd even fought them. My boss made a deal with your families long ago. He came back to save you, not to kill you. Otherwise, do you really think you'd still be alive? Zhou sneered. Yi Zichen looked at them silently and laughed. Perfect timing. Let me tell you this. From now on, the Upheaval Alliance will rule this planet. The former Empire of Fire is over. You can choose to serve the Upheaval Alliance, or you can give up your armor and return to normal life. The Upheaval Alliance won't force you. My lord. The guards and personal guards were stunned. Then, they suddenly thought of the golden sword from before. The child of destiny. The person in front of them was their true master of the stars. We are willing to serve the child of destiny. You should be our true master of the stars. Instantly, everyone, from the Imperial Guards to the vanguard of the Upheaval Alliance, including Han Qing, the Fire Elemental Fairy, and Dizhou, knelt on one knee. Greetings, Master of the Stars. Chapter 2469. Life Star Control. In less than 3 days, the Upheaval Alliance took over the entire planet. From now on, the entire planet truly belonged to the Upheaval Alliance, which meant it belonged to Yizichen. Star-Lord, what do you think about issuing the regulations of our planet in this manner? The moment the Empire was destroyed, Chicano was already preparing the internal constitution of the planet. A brand new rule. Naturally, it was accompanied by a new constitution. Let's do as you decide. Yizichen didn't even look at him, and merely nodded towards Chicano with a smile. I have absolute trust in you, and I believe that your terms are the best. Then this subordinate will distribute it to the managers of the various city lords. Sure. Yizichen nodded towards Chicano with a smile. There's something I need to tell you. Star-Lord, please instruct me. Chicano replied. Let's open up the entire planet as soon as possible so that people from different regions can freely communicate. This is the most important thing. Yizichen narrowed his eyes. I'll give you 1 year. I think 1 year is absolutely enough. I want to see a brand new life planet. Please rest assured, Star-Lord. Chicano swore solemnly. Also, Yizichen raised his eyebrows. I'm not asking you to take care of the surrounding beasts, but you must kill the leader-level beasts as soon as they appear. Including the leaders outside our village? That's right. Yizichen nodded solemnly. As long as it's a leader, we must kill it. Once it's reborn, we must kill it immediately. All the items obtained can be stored in the warehouse of the City Lord's mansion. Yes. Go. Chicano accepted the order and left. Actually, Yizichen felt that this world was rather strange. The birth of berserk beasts. The birth of a leader. They were all very different from the first universe. There was no sign of life here. It was as if they had appeared out of thin air. It was as if they had respawned automatically when the time was up. When killed, they would drop items. In the eyes of the natives, this was a gift from the gods. That was Yizichen's request to kill the leader. That was because he still remembered Bai Feng's reason for entering this world. Although he hadn't seen her for a while, he'd never forgotten her needs. It just so happened that he had such conditions now. Send someone to help her beat them up. Perhaps something would happen. After Chicano left, Yizichen walked out of the room and looked at the outside world. Who would have thought 3 years ago, he was still struggling in the beginner's village. Now, this life star belonged to him. Ding dong. At that moment, someone suddenly added Yizichen in the virtual network. Steelcase. Future Steelcase. Future Almighty, I really admire you from the bottom of my heart. Why are you always able to do such shocking things? Jingling, how did you do it? Gulu, future great god. After 3 years of silence, he's already a hot topic. Returning Windblade. Ha ha, they were all blown out. Hua Jianro. Damn, what's going on with you in the future? Bye, congratulations. Meng Luo. Guru, you're amazing. Flame Rat. My big brother is my big brother. We're still fighting monsters, and you've already unified the planet? Blue Shield Clan 0713. What's going on? He opened the Milky Way communication group. During his 2 years in seclusion, Yizichen blocked off all news. Not long ago, he unblocked the messages, and the moment he unblocked them, he received many messages from his acquaintances. It was just that he had been busy with planet matters. He didn't reply. When he saw someone add him in the group, he was completely dumbfounded. Unified the planet? How did they know? Our great Lord of the Stars. Bailey stood on Yizichen's shoulder. Let me show you something good. What is it? Yizichen looked at him in confusion. Then, a post suddenly popped up in front of him. Shocking news. Future Milky Way has successfully gained control of the planet. Yizichen was completely stunned when he saw the post. Who posted this? I don't know, Bailey shrugged. Bailey shrugged his shoulders. I checked just now, but the clue was cut off halfway through. Someone must have intentionally spread this out. Not to mention the people of your life planet, even the people of other life planets know about it. Yizichen looked at the time the post was posted. It hadn't even been half an hour. The replies below had already exceeded 10 million. The people in the group also discussed fervently. They were all very curious about how Yizichen had done it. After all, they were still at the stage of fighting monsters and establishing their families. Yizichen taking control of their entire life planet was a huge blow to them. Ding dong. Meng Luo is sending you a video call. He hesitated for a moment before confirming. The moment the call connected, the person he saw wasn't Meng Luo, but rather Hua Jianrou. The future. F***CK. Didn't you say you were in seclusion? How did you suddenly get control of the life planet? You're really something. While we were cultivating, you sneakily stole the life star. Why didn't you tell us in advance? We wanted to take part in this too. Also, my dad told me to ask you, how did you do it? Hua Jianrou's mouth was like a machine gun. She chattered non-stop. What else could I have done? I fought it down. Yizichen shrugged. F***CK. Since when did the town become like this? At that moment, Hua Jianrou suddenly screamed in terror. It wasn't just her. Bai Sei and the others all had similar expressions. You guys don't know? How would we know? Hua Jianrou curled her lip. During this period of time, we have also been in seclusion. Seeing that the genius contest is about to begin, the few of us have been brought back by our families to cultivate. Oh my God! How many good things did Meng Tai research for you to come out with this flying ship? Thank you for your help. Yizichen smiled. You're welcome. In response, Hua Jianrou laughed. Alright, since we all have a planet, we'll definitely rely on you. Oh right, are you going to the genius tournament? Go! Then we will wait for you. Hua Jianrou waved her hand and then frowned. Let's not talk anymore. We have to leave. Our family won't let us enter the virtual network. See you at the genius tournament. All right. Yizichen sat back down on his chair as he watched them close the video call. The battle between the geniuses. It seemed like everyone was working hard. Since Yizichen had pretty much taken care of everything on the planet, he felt like it was time to return to the Milky Way for a while. The Chicanos and the others helped manage it. There shouldn't be any problems. At that moment, Chicanos hurried in from outside the city lord's manor. Master of the Stars. Your friend Tianhai wants to see you. Look. Tianhai. Yizichen was stunned. He didn't see Tianhai speak up in the Milky Way chat group, so he thought that Tianhai was busy. I didn't expect him to directly come. I heard that he's a sovereign in the real world. Yizichen pursed his lips with a smile. Let him in. Chapter 2470. With Yizichen's approval, Chicano brought Tianhai to the city lord's manor. The future. Tianhai smiled the moment he saw Yizichen. He walked up and gave Yizichen a bear hug. Very quickly, he was stunned and looked at Yizichen for a long time. How strong are you now? The peak of the universe. Yizichen smiled. You. Tianhai was stunned for a long time. Just now, when he hugged Yizichen, he felt that the cosmic energy around Yizichen was rather thick. After a while, he actually found that he was unable to see through Yizichen's strength. You're already at the peak of the universe. Do you think that I spent the past few years in seclusion for nothing? Yizichen shrugged with a smile, then pointed at the seat in front of him. Sit. Tianhai's eyes were filled with shock. He broke through to the peak of the universe in less than 3 years. How did you do it? Tianhai's eyes were filled with shock and confusion. When I came just now, I saw that the guards in your city were all very imposing. They were all of the universe level. Did they come from the higher circles? Ah, yes. Chicano came from the first universe. No one else knew about this. If their strength was obtained through systematic training, Tianhai would definitely suspect Chicano's identity. Since he couldn't reveal this, Yi Zichen could only tell a white lie. Then how did you do it? The lower circles were generally weaker. If the higher circles were all universe level, then how did Yi Zichen and company beat them? Actually my men aren't weak either. I've learned of a training method from my elders and passed it on to my subordinates, letting them train with me. My subordinates are all at the pinnacle of the star system and universe level. You should have seen it when you came. My city's technology is much more advanced compared to this planet. We won with our advanced equipment. Yi Zichen shrugged with a smile. So that's how it is. Tianhai did not doubt it at all. He was shocked when he saw the city as well. He guessed that if the city could be built to this level, then Yi Zichen's research department would be able to make laser guns as well. Scientific weapons like that were great weapons of war. On this planet where there was almost no technology, laser guns were invincible. As for systematic training, as a venerable, he naturally knew about it. A training method developed by the upper echelons of the human race. It allowed one to rise to the universe level in a short period of time and rush straight to the battlefield. This was also because the human race was weaker than the other races, so they had no choice but to use this method. At first, Yi Zichen said he was at the peak of the universe. He even wondered if he had used this method as well. However, it was quickly denied by him. He had experienced this period before. He remembered that he had spent 100 years to go from the domain level to the peak of the universe. At that time, he was also fumbling around on his own. It was only later that he heard about systematic training. Even so, 2 years would at most allow him to reach the universe level. More importantly, after this method was used, a large amount of human potential was squeezed out, and their future achievements would not be particularly high. He didn't think that Yi Zichen would do that to him. In this way, he could forcefully increase his strength. Destroy your own future. However, if it was used on the natives, it would be a good choice to raise their overall strength in a short period of time. It was now. The human race had stabilized, and it had been a long time since such a training method had appeared. However, given Yi Zichen's background, Tianhai didn't doubt that he would be able to learn it. No matter what, he was someone that the Virtual World Corporation and the Universe United Bank had sent people to rescue. I really didn't expect that in the blink of an eye. It's only been 2 years and you've already grown so much, Tianhai sighed with a smile. It seems like I'll have to call you Lord of the Stars from now on. It's just a life planet, it's not that exaggerated. Yi Zichen smiled modestly. This bit of wealth might seem fine in front of others, but he knew very well that the person in front of him was a sovereign. A sovereign's life planet was definitely not a small matter. If Yi Zichen tried to use the title of Lord of the Stars in front of him, that would be a bit too arrogant. I'm not exaggerating. Tianhai's expression suddenly turned serious. Tianhai's face suddenly became solemn. You should know that you're the only one who owns a life star in the second universe. Compared to the rest of us, you have already established a huge advantage in the second universe. What's more, this advantage will increase to an astonishing degree. At the very least, before the universes fuse, you can expand your territory without fear. If worst comes to worst, you can just wait for the fusion to happen. You can just find a flag to join, and your territory won't be affected. Actually, Yi Zichen had the same thought even without Tianhai's reminder. Plunder the universe's resources. As fast as possible and as many as possible. At present, He could rely on the power of science and technology to establish an advantage in the second universe within a short period of time. However, if the universes were to merge, these advantages of his might disappear. He had to do more things before the fusion. Only then could he ensure the future of himself and the Milky Way galaxy. And he was already doing it. Not long ago, Han Qing, Theseus, and Cyclops had led 2 million elite vanguard troops away from the planet. With One Eye, a venerable of the first universe, around, he could also give the most appropriate advice when plundering planet. Yi Zichen smiled at Tianhai, then spoke. Ha ha ha, then can I join Brother Amami? Me? Tianhai shrugged and shook his head. Don't count on me. Isn't Brother Amami a supremacy? With a supremacy protecting me, what do I have to fear? Yi Zichen smiled. What's the use of a supremacy? Suddenly, a hint of sadness appeared in Tianhai's eyes. A supremacy isn't invincible. If you aren't a supreme being, then everything is useless. From Tianhai's tone, Yi Zichen could sense self-mockery. Old bro, what's wrong? Ha ha ha, nothing. Tianhai shook his head with a smile. Yi Zichen frowned. You can tell me if you're in trouble. If I can help. Although I don't seem to be able to help much, I can think of a way for you. Never mind, I won't hide anything from you. Tianhai let out a long sigh. Future brother, I've actually run into some trouble recently. What trouble? I won't say what it is, Tianhai smiled. But I want to ask Lil Bro in the future for something. Old bro, tell me. I want to buy some resources from you. Tianhai hesitated for a moment. Before saying, Don't worry, I'll buy it at twice the market price. What do you think? Chapter 2471. Buying resources. Given the situation on Yi Zichen's life planet, the consumption of resources was enormous. Forget about selling resources. He wanted to buy resources from the outside world. Big bro, what's going on? I need some resources. Tianhai frowned. Tianhai furrowed his brows, his gaze extremely solemn. Future brother, I know you need a lot of resources right now. I have no other choice. What resources do you need? Yi Zichen asked after a moment's hesitation. Since Tianhai had already put it that way, Yi Zichen couldn't just refuse. Actually, he wanted to say, there were so many resource planets in the universe, and many families specialized in selling resources. Why didn't Tianhai buy from the first universe? Why did he have to buy from him? Or double? But then he thought about it. Since Tianhai had already gone this far, he could tell that Yi Zichen had nowhere else to go. That's why he was buying from him. That's it. It was clear that Tianhai had come prepared. As soon as Yi Zichen finished speaking, he took out a list from his pocket. Yi Zichen looked it over, then handed it to Chicano. Chicano took the list, then looked through it for about half a minute. These are all strategic resources. Seeing that some things weren't convenient to say, Chicano sent Yi Zichen a private message. Strategic resources. In other words, resources used in war. Big bro, you. Yi Zichen gripped the list. Tianhai let out a deep sigh. I know you'll definitely recognize this. To tell you the truth, my galaxy is currently in a period of war. Outsiders? Of course not, Tianhai sighed. Tianhai let out a long sigh. A civil war, a war of aggression. Master of the stars. Aggression is a rather common method of warfare for us humans. It's also a way to expand our territory. Chicano sent Yi Zichen a private message to explain. Yi Zichen frowned when he saw the message. The humans don't care? We can't manage this sort of war, Chicano replied. Wars like this break out almost every day among the human race. Even the human race can't manage all of them. All right. After sending the message, Yi Zichen smiled towards Tianhai. Big bro is preparing to invade other planets? Then I have to congratulate you in advance. Future lil bro, don't hide it from me. Huh. Yi Zichen was stunned. Look at me. Do I look like I'm going to invade another life star? Tianhai clenched his fists and said, I'm the one being invaded, and the galaxy I control has almost been completely devoured. Only one main star and 3 auxiliary stars are left. The rest have all fallen. Tianhai's last sentence was uttered through gritted teeth. He clenched his fists tightly. The veins on his arms bulged, and the bones in his fingers creaked. How is this possible? Yi Zichen couldn't help but shout. Venerable realm. It was good enough that he didn't invade other life stars. Someone dared to invade him? Anyone who heard this would find it hard to believe. That's right, how is that possible? Tianhai also smiled bitterly. A dignified supremacy. Not being able to protect an entire galaxy was a great humiliation to him. How could this be? Yi Zichen frowned. I already have some clues. I know who is supporting them from behind to attack my galaxy. Tianhai let out a sigh. Right now, I can't buy any strategic resources in the first universe. That person should have told me beforehand. Future Lil Bro, I can only buy from you right now. How much do you need? The more the better. Tianhai's eyes darkened. I know that saying this might be a bit. Alright, I'll give it to you. Before Tianhai could finish, Yi Zichen nodded in agreement. Chicano! Give all the strategic resources we have stored in the chaotic stars to Tianhai. Send people to mine. Give him as much as we can. Master of the stars. Chicano was stunned. He frowned as he looked at the strategic resources on the list. There are many resources on there that we need. Without them, many of our projects will be put on hold. Then let's put them on hold. Yi Zichen let out a long sigh. Some of our projects are far too insignificant compared to the survival of the planet. Yes. This subordinate obeys. Chicano also let out a long sigh in his heart. Tianhai's eyes also turned red as he walked in front of Yi Zichen. Future Lil Bro. Persevere, Lil Bro. As long as the war on your side doesn't stop and the resources on my side don't run out, I will continue to provide you with the strategic resources you need. Yi Zichen said seriously. I will also attack other life planets. As long as I get the resources you need, I will give them to you first. Future. I will remember this favor. Tianhai nodded. Yi Zichen smiled as well. It seems like I've profited. No matter how you think about it, using some resources to make the sovereign owe me a favor is a good deal. I'll transfer the money to you right now. No need, Yi Zichen shook his head with a smile. Your face is only worth these resources. You don't need to give me money, I'll give them to you for free. How can that be? Tianhai glared. Do you know how valuable these resources are? It is already a huge favor that you are willing to sell them to me. How can I take them for free? Do you want me to be unable to raise my head in front of you for the rest of my life? Alright, then give me the normal price. Yi Zichen reached out his hand to stop Tianhai when he saw that he was about to speak again. Don't say any more. If you want to buy it at double the price, don't blame me for not selling it to you. Future brother. Tianhai couldn't help but hug Yi Zichen again. Thank you. Ha 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 ha, you're too polite. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows with a smile. You have to win. I'm counting on you to be my backer in the future. Definitely. Tianhai nodded forcefully. I can't say I'm your backer, but if you need me as an ally and don't mind my weak strength, I'll definitely stand by your side. It's a deal. It's a deal. Smiling at Tianhai, Chicano led him out of the city lord's residence to retrieve the resources. Yi Zichen sat on the chair and let out a long sigh. Bailey! You're really stupid. Bailey frowned. If you give him these resources, it will affect you greatly. Maybe. Yi Zichen smiled without retorting. Bailey suddenly spoke up with a smile. But it's fine. I've already searched for some resources on the virtual network and negotiated the purchase of a batch of resources. Actually, it won't affect us much. Yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you as well. Yi Zichen smiled. Give all the resources we bought to Tianhai as well. I said. We'll give it all to him, so we'll definitely give it all to him. We won't keep anything for ourselves. Chapter 2472. Do you know what you're saying? Bailey started to doubt what he had just heard. We also sell the resources we buy to him. Don't you know that we have to pay taxes? Yi Zichen really didn't know that he had to pay taxes when he bought goods. He didn't have to pay any tax on the elemental crystals he bought before. There's tax too? You think? Bailey frowned and shouted. The purchase of strategic resources requires some taxes. The more we buy, the more fees we have to pay. How much? According to the money Tianhai gave you just now, if you buy all the resources and sell them to him at the original price, you'll lose at least 40 million. Universe dollars? That's right. Bailey looked very serious. 40 million universe credits was not a small sum to anyone. In fact, he had deliberately exaggerated a little. Actually, the correct number was 33 million. He just wanted to raise the number a bit so that Yi Zichen would give up on the idea. It's just 40 million. I can afford it. We'll just make up for it. Even in Bailey's dreams, Yi Zichen actually gave him this sort of reply. You'd rather pay the taxes yourself? They would rather provide Tianhai with insufficient resources than to provide the greatest amount of support. I really don't understand what you're thinking. I know what you're worried about. Yi Zichen smiled towards Bailey. Do you think that losing 40 million isn't worth it? This is not a matter of 40 million. Bailey felt like he was going crazy. He slapped his head and shouted. Do you know how important those strategic resources are? Do you know how necessary it is for you right now? You think it's because of the slowdown of certain technologies. Do you know how much of an improvement it would be to you if you could obtain those technologies? This is not a matter of 40 million. It's a question of 400 million, 4 billion, or 40 billion. These resources will greatly affect the efficiency of your territory expansion. No matter what, we should at least leave some behind. Actually, it wasn't that Yi Zichen didn't understand what Bailey meant. From Chicano's attitude back then, it was obvious that these strategic resources were very important to him. Otherwise, with his personality, he would not question his decision in front of others. At most, he would communicate in private. He said it. This proved the urgency of this matter. I think you really need to reconsider. Bell heaved a long sigh. I'm already being very careful. Yi Zichen shrugged with a smile. Actually, all you've been talking about is what I've lost, but what you haven't considered. What I've lost doesn't affect me too much. It doesn't affect my current survival. It's just a matter of efficiency. But Tianhai is facing the destruction of the entire galaxy. That's his problem. Bailey spoke. The people of your universe are really too cold. Yi Zichen shook his head. Do you know what it means to do anything for a brother? Tianhai is my good friend. If he's in trouble, I'll definitely do my best. Moreover, I also believe that, if he treats me as a friend, after solving the urgent situation at hand, he will consider my need for resources and not buy all of them. I won't lose these resources forever, just for a short period of time. I'm too lazy to argue with you. Bailey frowned, then directly disappeared from Yi Zichen's shoulder. Just before he disappeared, there seemed to be a smile lingering on his face. This decision might be a little silly. At the very least, he's a decent person. Following someone like that is better than following those cold-blooded people. Yi Zichen shrugged bitterly. Perhaps he was different from the people of the universe in some aspects. From their point of view, anything that didn't involve them had nothing to do with them. No matter what, Yi Zichen always felt that this concept was wrong. Jiang Hu was all about the ways of the world. If you don't treat others well, then why do you expect others to treat you well? This time, he helped Tianhai. If Tianhai won, then the Milky Way galaxy would have a sovereign-level ally. A sovereign-level ally. Isn't this kind of ally enough? Even if he lost, Yi Zichen had a clear conscience. At the very least, he was doing his best to help Tianhai. He had always believed that good people would be rewarded. The good karma he accumulated now would be returned to him in the future. Another 3 days passed by in the blink of an eye. During these few days, Tianhai would come to the chaotic stars to extract resources. Yi Zichen would take away as much as he extracted. During this time, Yi Zichen also handed over some strategic resources to the First Universe. Yi Zichen gave all of these resources to Tianhai. It was just as he said. He would give as much as he could. That's what he said. It was only after Tianhai obtained the third batch of resources that he mentioned that he had enough resources and didn't need Yi Zichen to provide more. From the looks of it, it really didn't affect Yi Zichen much at all. It was just 3 days. What else do you have to say for yourself? Yi Zichen shrugged, then looked at Bailey. It's just 3 days. Will it affect me as badly as you say? Fine, you win. Bailey said unwillingly. You're just too independent, Yi Zichen shrugged. Yi Zichen shrugged. I'll just put it this way. Tianhai's only ever needed resources for emergencies. If we give them too little each time, not only will they grow anxious, it'll also take them a long time to get more resources. The more we give him, the shorter the time it takes for him to obtain resources. What's more, it'll solve his urgent problems. You're not wrong. Although Bailey was very reluctant, he still agreed with Yi Zichen's reasoning. Since you're following me, then you have to get closer to me. Don't always use your universe's ways to talk to me. I'm not from the universe. I've lived in a world where people help each other. Yi Zichen twitched his mouth. Then your world must be very warm, right? Sort of, Yi Zichen smiled. Yi Zichen smiled. At least it's more humane than in the universe. With that, Yi Zichen stretched lazily. In the past few days, he had already explained everything that he needed to. With Chicano managing the chaotic stars, Yi Zichen was completely at ease. Yi Zichen looked at the city lord's manor in front of him. Yi Zichen logged out of the virtual network. You've taken care of everything? She smiled towards Yi Zichen as if she was already prepared. According to our agreement, I can let you return to the Milky Way galaxy to live for a while, but it won't be a lot. I know. Yi Zichen's eyes shone with excitement when he thought about returning to the Milky Way galaxy. Go back, there's a surprise waiting for you in the Milky Way galaxy. Surprise? Yi Zichen tilted his head. Sovereign Spirit Phoenix had mentioned it before he left. Just what surprise? You'll know when you get back. Chapter 2473. Oh my God! I didn't expect the universe to give birth to such a beautiful galaxy, and it's so huge. Most importantly, it's an ownerless Saturn. Inside a D-class spaceship, a few humans dressed in blue and white clothes were staring at the projection in front of them. On the chest area of their clothes was a tulip symbol. There was even a tulip symbol imprinted on it. Tulip family. In the Kami universe, it was a family that was above average. The people in this spaceship were all members of the Tulip family. It was an adventurer team. Their original intention was to head to the nearest secret region. They wanted to see if they could earn some interest. However, along the way, they came into contact with a wanderer, and it was this wanderer's appearance that changed their goal and destination. The content of the projection was too shocking. Some of them couldn't stay calm anymore. Their bodies were filled with indescribable excitement as they clenched their fists while looking at the projection. An ownerless Saturn. What a bunch of pitiful people. In such a galaxy, even if we were to mine resources, the wealth we could obtain would be unimaginable. This place can become a second energy empire. Everyone was still shocked by the scene in front of them. The shock stimulated their adrenaline, and their blood seemed to be boiling. At this moment, someone was holding a technological product with computing functions, and his hands were tapping on it. Oh my God! With this galaxy's rough estimation, Even if we were to sell resources, we could sell it for more than 1,000 chaos units. More than 100 billion. Chaos. Oh my God. This is a rough calculation. The young man holding the calculator was flushed with excitement. There are still many strategic resources that I haven't calculated. I calculated according to the lowest resources produced by the planet. If we can mine these strategic resources, the value of the entire galaxy will increase by 100 times. Oh my God! Also, the human population in the universe has reached a saturation point. These billions of life stars, we can modify them to provide for human life. We don't need anything else. Even if it's just rent, our income. Don't say any more, don't say any more. Seeing the young man who was still calculating was about to speak again, a few crew members held their chests and shook their heads. They didn't dare to listen anymore. With such wealth placed in front of them, they felt as if their hearts were about to explode. Captain! 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 Everyone on the spaceship looked at the middle-aged man who was still sitting on the chair. Let's do it. Yes. As long as we do this, we can directly announce our retirement. There was excitement and heat in the crew. At this time, they were completely confused by the wealth, and they could no longer control themselves. Captain. Done. At this moment, the middle-aged man sitting on the seat let out a deep breath. What nonsense are you all shouting for? Do all of you think that the galaxy is already in your pocket? Isn't it? There isn't a single star rank expert in the entire galaxy. Won't we just crush them if we go there? The one who spoke was a 9th-level star body human. Your self-confidence will harm you. The middle-aged captain let out a long breath. It's not that I want to hurt you, but as a star rank, you don't even have the qualifications to enter the universe, and you're already thinking of fighting for a galaxy? Even if the galaxy is really given to you, do you think you can defend it? Any random universe-level adventurer, and everything you've got will be for naught. The star body level 9 was speechless by the captain's words. And the rest of you? The captain extended his hand to look at the others. The strongest among you is only a star body level 6. Seeing this galaxy, the first thing you should feel should be fear. You have to think about whether or not you have the qualifications to own it. The crew members lowered their heads in silence. Let me ask you this, how do you plan to obtain this galaxy? We can register with the nearest universe country. As the first to discover it, the universe country will give us a discount. Someone suggested. That way, not only will we own the galaxy, we'll also have the protection of the universe country. When that time comes, what bullshit tulip family will be the new family? There's no need to keep pretending to be a grandson in front of the direct descendants of the tulip family. In the future, who knows who'll be the one watching? The more he spoke, the angrier he got. He could feel that he was bullied by the tulip family quite a bit, otherwise he wouldn't hate the tulip family so much. Yes. After we buy the galaxy, we'll become the Star Master ourselves. In terms of military strength, we'll have the protection of the universe country. Also, the universe law states that life planets are not allowed to be invaded for 1,000 years after the transaction. We'll have the absolute right to rule. In 1,000 years, with the resources of this galaxy, it'll be enough for us to grow to a very high level. The planet's power will also increase greatly. I'm sure that when that time comes, our overall strength will definitely surpass the tulip family. Let's show those arrogant bastards. They used to look down on us just because we were outer members. Every year, they would deduct our supplies. They really think that when we grow up, there'll be nothing. We'll be the Star Master ourselves. We'll be the Star Master ourselves. The people in the ship waved their arms and shouted their slogan. Looking at them, the middle-aged captain silently sighed. They were really too immature. Speaking of which, he could only blame himself. If he could work harder, he wouldn't have chosen such a group of simple-minded people when choosing the members of the adventure team. However, being simple-minded also had its benefits. At least their emotions were real. He didn't need to worry too much about whether or not these people would use tricks on him behind his back. Unfortunately, the words of the young were always thoughtless. "All right, all of you, shut up." Facing these overly excited people, the middle-aged captain gestured with his hand. "All of you, sit down." "What are you doing?" The crew members followed suit and sat down. At this moment, the captain let out a long sigh. "I understand your feelings. Your way of thinking is actually not wrong. Now, I'll ask you a question." The middle-aged captain's gaze swept across the crew members and slowly opened his mouth. "Purchase a galaxy? Do you have the money?" Chapter 2474. Just one sentence. It was like a heavy blow landed on the heads of all the crew members in the cabin. Did they have money? If they really wanted to talk about savings, they probably didn't have much. Do we need a lot? Someone opened his mouth and asked. When he said this, his heart had already turned cold. "What do you guys think? Don't always look at the value of this planet. While it has value, it also means that we have to pay a corresponding price. You guys just said, even if it's calculated according to the most ordinary low-level will, the internal resources can be sold for hundreds of billions. Do you guys think that if you guys can calculate it, those professional star system evaluators can't? Even if we're the first to register. To enjoy the lowest purchase discount, we'll calculate it according to 1% of the star system's price, even if it's 1 in 100 million. 1,000 primal chaos. Which one of us can afford that?" Everyone's heart turned cold. 1,000 primal chaos. That was 100 billion universe dollars. With their strength, not to mention 100 billion universe dollars, they didn't even have 100 billion galactic dollars. They were adventurers, but their strength wasn't high. The things they obtained were also things that some big shots didn't want, so the value was limited. I can tell you guys very directly. This star system isn't something we can touch. Even in the entire universe, the number of people who can buy this star system in one go is very few. If such a star system wants to sell, it's either a top human family or a peak power, like the Universe Union Bank or the Virtual World Corporation. When these two giants were mentioned by the middle-aged captain, everyone was shocked speechless. These giants were too far away for them. This also made them realize how stupid it was for them to want to buy a star system. They were too naive. There's another possibility, which is to split it up and sell it. Countless families and powers will come and take a share. Dividing the star system into regions, everyone will buy the star system. Even so, splitting the star system isn't something we can buy. More importantly, we don't have a trustworthy partner that we can cooperate with. There's one more thing. From the moment we formed the team, I've been telling you guys a principle. What you have. Don't be too much beyond what you can handle. In our human race's universe, there are many experts. If you star ranks have the wealth of a titled Earl, do you think people will be jealous of you? That's for sure. But only cosmic system states are needed to kill you. What is this galaxy we're looking at right now? It's the wealth of a venerable or an overlord. If we really buy it, aren't you afraid of being targeted? Wealth is indeed fascinating. My life is more important. At this point, no one in the spaceship could say anything. The excitement in their hearts had also been extinguished by the words of the middle-aged captain. Indeed, they did not have the right to own this galaxy. They were too naive. "Captain, what do we need to do?" the crew members asked. "We can't just pretend that nothing happened, right? This is a gift from the Creator to us." It didn't matter how sharp the middle-aged man's words were. If they acted as if nothing had happened, it would be difficult for the crew to let go without any fluctuations. As far as they were concerned, they had to get something. "How about we give this to the Tulip family?" someone suggested. Not long ago they were still shouting that they did not need the Tulip family and said all sorts of bad things about the Tulip family. At this moment, they were still thinking about the Tulip family. Actually, it's not impossible. The middle-aged captain hesitated for a while. The key is how we should report it. We need to highlight the importance and uniqueness of the information we have. He looked into the distance. There was a tramp tied up in their cabin. His entire body was tied up by rope. He had been struggling intensely from the start, but he couldn't break free. At this moment, the middle-aged captain walked towards the tramp. Woo-woo! The tramp was still alive. He struggled as if he wanted them to let him go. The middle-aged man tidied up the tramp's clothes. Sika, is that your name? On the tramp's clothes, he saw the name tag that was covered in blood. The tramp nodded. His eyes kept changing. The middle-aged man hesitated for a while. She removed the seal on his mouth. Let me go. I won't tell anyone about this. Let me go. I won't tell anyone about this. Let me go. I won't tell anyone about this. The tramp's eyes were filled with pleading. He was Sika. Lucy had thrown him into the dark universe. He had the power of a titled battle pet warrior. Under the ravages of the dark universe's turbulence, his power hadn't even reached the domain realm. Fortunately, he had met these people. He had survived. But now, he felt that he wouldn't be able to survive. He definitely didn't want to die. He still had tens of billions of primordial chaos that he hadn't spent yet. His beautiful life was still waving at him. Give me a reason, the middle-aged man said. I'm not a threat to you. Plus, the coordinates are all in that projection. Now that it's in your hands, Can't you copy it? The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes. If it were me, I'd have to make at least a few hundred copies of this information to feel at ease. Sika couldn't help but gulp. The middle-aged man was right. In fact, the one in front of them was a copy. Even Star-Lord Songyue hadn't considered this problem, but this middle-aged man had. Perhaps this was due to the difference in power. If it was Star-Lord Songyue, for him, one copy was enough. He had absolute confidence and wasn't worried that someone would snatch it from him. I won't ask why you were thrown into the dark universe. But we are your saviors. You can't deny that. In other words, your life belongs to us. In the beginning, I sincerely wanted to save you, but I'm sorry. Now, I'm going to take your life. His palm slapped the tramp's head. The tramp's eyes widened. He fell to the ground with his neck crooked. He opened the cabin door. The middle-aged man casually threw the tramp out of the cabin door. From the beginning to the end, there was no change in his eyes. It was as if he had dealt with an insignificant guy. That was right. He was insignificant to the people in the cabin. All right, everything is settled. We have the absolute right to speak. Go contact the Tulip family's management. Chapter 2475. D. The people in the cabin held their breaths, waiting for the management to accept their communication. Hello. This is the Tulip Family Reception Center. How can I help you? A beautiful lady appeared in the projection. Her voice was clear. Hello. We are the Tulip family's outer members adventure team. This is our family crest. The middle-aged captain walked over, holding the Tulip family crest in his hand. My name is Mingbu. Hello, Mingbu Captain. The receptionist lady spoke. How can I help you? I would like to meet the elders of the family. Mingbu hesitated for a while before speaking. We just obtained a very important piece of information while adventuring in the universe. We need to report it to the elders and the family leader. May I know the level of the information, the highest level? Mingbu didn't even think before answering. From his point of view, the galaxy projection he just received was the highest level without any problems. Are you sure? The receptionist lady's eyes were filled with shock. The highest level. In the Tulip family, this was news that affected the family's life and death. Such news hadn't appeared in tens of thousands of years. All of a sudden, it was only natural for an adventurer team of outer members to say something like that to shock them. I'm very sure. Please wait. The receptionist lady hurriedly left. Not long after, a young man with long black hair, wearing a silver universal combat suit and wrist guard appeared in the projection. He walked over. "Hey Mingbu! Why is it you?" Mingbu recognized the youth in front of him. "Hey you! A direct member of the Tulip family's inner circle. A few decades ago, the two of them fought over the inner circle's qualification. After that, due to his identity, Heiyu entered the inner circle. Mingbu could only continue adventuring in the outer circle. Why are you here? Why can't I be here?" Heiyu shrugged. "Don't forget, I'm a direct member of the family. I'm different from you outer circle members." "What do you mean?" one of the crew members shouted. Heiyu glanced at him. "Mingbu, what kind of crew members did you find? They're probably not even at the universe level. How pitiful, you can't even find a decent crew member." "Damn!" The crew members clenched their fists. In the projection, Heiyu looked at them with contempt. "Tell me, what exactly do you want to report?" The receptionist said it was the highest level? "Tell me about it, and I'll judge if it's the highest grade. Then, I'll tell the elders." "Captain, let's not talk any more." The crew members all felt that this person was looking down on them. They did not want Mingbu to tell them about the star system. "We discovered a native star system," Mingbu said. "Is that so?" Heiyu was stunned for a moment, and his tone revealed some surprise. "You actually have such luck. So what if they find out? The native star system has no master." When Mingbu's voice fell, Heiyu's eyes darkened. "What about the internal experts?" "I'm not sure," Mingbu replied. "Then I suggest that you investigate thoroughly before reporting back." Heiyu narrowed his eyes. "If there are experts in the native star system, what if the clan sends an army over and they are completely annihilated? This kind of thing happened very often in the universe. Some native star systems. It looked ordinary, but there were peerless experts living inside. Some of the clans who wanted to invade were completely annihilated as soon as they entered. Such things happened everywhere. An ownerless life star system was naturally valuable, but it was just that. In Heiyu's opinion, Mingbu was exaggerating. He actually said that it was the highest level, even if there were no experts in that star system. An ordinary star system only had a dozen or so life stars and some resource stars. To the Tulip family, it was not a matter of life and death. At most, it had a certain value. He had a grudge with Mingbu. The person he did not want to see the most was Mingbu Jiangong. If this star system was reported, the clan might remember his contribution. Before that, he was more willing to discuss this Mingbu. Investigate properly. If there are any new discoveries, report back. At that time, I can help you and give you the title of an inner circle member. The image was cut off. Lord Heiyu. The receptionist lady did not understand. Next time, don't be in a rush to report everything. You have to understand clearly in advance. Their information earlier was of little value. It is not worth it to ask the patriarch or the elder. In the future, learn to be smarter, understand? Fortunately, you met me this time. If you had asked the elder to come and the information was trash, what do you think you would have done? The moment Heiyu finished speaking, the receptionist lady's face turned pale. Lord Heiyu, I will remember. Next time, I must ask clearly. Heiyu waved his hand and left. The receptionist lady clenched her fists and frowned as she looked forward. She felt resentment towards Mingbu. She had almost caused a huge disaster. The next time she saw his information request, she would definitely not be nice to him. The image turned off. The members in the cabin were all furious. He did not care about our information at all. He did not ask anything and just asked us to continue investigating. The crew members clenched their fists and shouted, "He is looking down on us too much! F***CK. Who does he think he is? We are looking for the elder. Why is he the one to talk to us? He is acting like he is the patriarch. What is he so smug about? He is the eldest son of the patriarch." Suddenly Mingbu said, It is very likely that he will be the next patriarch. The cabin became silent. Captain, what should we do now? Should we contact the Tulip family? Contact my ass. One of the crew members said angrily. Captain, I think we should not report to the Tulip family. Let's not talk about it to the family, but our intel. I have an idea. The crew member frowned and said, Captain, why don't we make a bet? Continue. Ming-Bu said. We will directly go to that star system and test the strength of the people there. If their strength is too high for us to handle, then we will continue to report to the Tulip family. If they are below the universe, we will be resource sellers. Continue. We will turn the humans there into slaves and let them mine resources for us to sell. In an instant, the eyes of the crew members lit up. Good idea. Captain, this is a good idea. We will just sell the resources. Captain. The minds of the crew members became active. Ming-Bu also took a deep breath and nodded. Coordinate. Let us go to the native star system to take a look. Chapter 2476. Coordinates locked. The spacecraft will enter extreme speed mode. Time required: 3 months, 17 days, 12 hours, 46 minutes and 13 seconds. Reporting, Captain. Everything is ready. In less than 10 minutes, the crew had finished dealing with everything. Ming-Bu sat on the sofa with a frown. It's decided. Let's do it. He was extremely disappointed with the Tulip family. If he wanted to blame someone, he could only blame that idiot Heiyu. He was the one who ruined the qualification that could allow the entire family to enter the top rank. Sell resources. Quickly mine and sell at a low price. He did not seek to control the entire galaxy. What he wanted to do now was to obtain as much benefits as possible. Even if there were experts coming in the future. Discover this galaxy. At that time, he could directly withdraw from here without any resistance. This galaxy did not belong to him. Every day that they could mine was an extra day of profit. The price of strategic resources was expensive. Even if they only mined for a day, it might be equivalent to a year's worth of profit from wandering in the universe. Picking up trash. They had already picked up enough. It was time to taste the high-level resources. Captain, I still have something to say, the blue-skinned human who proposed to sell resources said. Speak. How are we going to sell the resources? The crew member said. I feel that we should prepare in advance so that we can seamlessly connect. Once we mine, we can start selling. Otherwise, after we mine, we will have no way to sell it. Hoarding resources is useless to us. What we want is profit. What do you have in mind? Ming-Bu said. Only now did Ming-Bu realize that he might have neglected his crew members in the past. Although these crew members were weaker, they had less experience in the universe and were simple-minded. But they were all living people with the ability to think. This was the case for the young man in front of him. His selling of resources made Ming-Bu feel enlightened. Maybe because he had wandered in the universe for too long, he had considered too many things and lost the desperation he had when he first entered the universe. To survive in the universe, sometimes one needed to be desperate. Only by doing so would they be able to obtain greater benefit. Following the prescribed order was simply too slow. I thought of 2 methods. One is for us to register a resource selling shop in the virtual network of the Virtual World Group. We can find someone to forge an identity to make the resources we sell reasonable. This won't do. Ming-Bu shook his head almost instantly. What kind of existence was the Virtual World Corporation? It would be fine if they did not forge it, but if they did, they would be instantly found out. Then I have another way. To be a war resource dealer. We can collect information on people in the universe who need strategic resources and connect the resources without meeting them. All we need to do is to open a temporary account. That's enough. Warmongers. Ming-Bu frowned and thought for a long time. This was indeed a way to get rid of resources, but the people they would come into contact with would be all sorts of people, and the danger would be greatly increased. Captain, we need to take a gamble, the crew member said seriously. Mingbu took a deep breath. We'll do as you say. From now on, you're the vice captain of our team. You're in charge of collecting information about the war. When the time comes, filter out a portion of the information and hand it over to me. I'll decide who to sell the resources to. Yes. The young man nodded excitedly. The other people in the cabin also had looks of envy in their eyes. You guys don't have to be envious. We're all on the same side. When the time comes to sell the resources, you'll all get a share. This time we'll do something big. Yes. The crew members replied excitedly. Everyone, go and rest. Rest up. Let's go to that galaxy with our best appearances. Yes. At the Milky Way galaxy. A spaceship flew through the Milky Way galaxy. You're way too cautious, Venerable Spirit Phoenix smiled. Ever since they entered the Milky Way galaxy, Yi Zichen had maintained a highly tense state as he observed everything within the galaxy. I'm a bit worried. Yi Zichen scratched his head with a smile. He was far too afraid that something had happened to the Milky Way galaxy. He was very worried that someone would come to the Milky Way galaxy while he was away. Actually, you really don't have to worry, Venerable Spirit Phoenix smiled. No matter what, the Lord of the Milky Way is one of the supreme beings. How could the spatial dark spot he left behind be so easily discovered? If those adventurers could find it, then Star-Lord Songyue and the others would have found it long ago. Yeah. Even so, Yi Zichen didn't know why, but he felt a bit flustered and had a bad feeling about it. More importantly, for some reason, he suspected that someone else had come to the Milky Way galaxy. He didn't know why he had such a thought. He couldn't explain it. Master. Along the way, the slaves who were left behind to patrol the Milky Way galaxy also appeared. Thank you for your hard work. Yi Zichen got off the spaceship with a smile. How was it? Did anyone come to the Milky Way galaxy recently? No, the slaves answered with certainty. Yi Zichen let out a soft sigh, then nodded. That's good. At that very moment, many of the slaves looked at Yi Zichen with smiles in their eyes. Yi Zichen tilted his head and looked at them. Why are you so happy? Master, you'll know when you get back. One of the star system level females smiled. One of the female cosmic system states smiled. I'm sure you'll be overjoyed when you go back. Yeah. The other people around him also laughed and said, We're all here to congratulate you in advance, Master. Huh? Yi Zichen was confused. The slaves all laughed. Master, hurry up and go back. Leave this place to us. If anything happens, we'll notify you immediately. Thank you for your hard work. After returning to the spaceship, Yi Zichen tilted his head and looked at the Spirit Phoenix. What's wrong with them? They're just congratulating you, the Spirit Phoenix smiled. Let me congratulate you in advance as well. I hope you won't be so happy when the time comes. What? Yi Zichen boarded the spaceship and left in confusion. 6 days later, the news of Yi Zichen's return had already reached everyone's ears. When he returned, they were all waiting for him at the God Realm. Yi! Congratulations, congratulations! The great sage was the first to rush over with a wide grin. Then, Yang Jian and the others all congratulated him. Yi Zichen was completely confused. Su Yan, Xia Kiki, Li Jie and the others all followed him out. Yumei and the others, who had been in seclusion last time, also followed him, but their eyes were filled with a hint of resentment. Until, when Yi Zichen saw that there were a few cute little fellows behind them, he was completely stunned. He felt a sense of intimacy from a bloodline connection. He stared at one of the girls. The girl also walked over with a tilt of her head. Are you Daddy? Yi Zichen's heart instantly melted. Chapter 2477. Are you my father? The little girl tilted her head. Seeing that Yi Zichen didn't speak for a long time, she asked again in a childish voice. At that moment, Yi Zichen had completely lost the ability to think. He stared at the little girl in front of him. Mom, this person doesn't talk. The little girl turned around and ran back to Xiaoqi's side. At that moment, Yi Zichen also noticed that the little girl's feet didn't even touch the ground. Maybe he was scared silly. Your father has always been a big idiot. Xiaoqi smiled and hugged the little girl. Yi Zi, are you stupid? Yang Jian bumped Yi Zichen's arm with his elbow. That's your little girl. Why aren't you saying anything? Am I? Yi Zichen couldn't help but gulp. He subconsciously glanced at the venerable spirit phoenix and saw that her eyes were also filled with smiles. How is it? Surprised? Sis, don't tell me you were talking about. I was talking about this surprise. As she spoke, the venerable spirit phoenix walked over and picked up a young lady from the ground. Who is your mother? She is my mother. The little girl pointed at Li Jiai. Li Jiai, who was pointed at, blushed subconsciously. What about you? Venerable Spirit Phoenix carried a little girl in her arms. The girl in the pink dress pointed at Lu Qing. Venerable Spirit Phoenix smiled and put the little girls down. They ran to their mother's sides and grabbed their mother's hands. They tilted their heads and looked at the Venerable Spirit Phoenix and the father their mothers kept talking about. Yi Zichen really didn't know what to say. They were actually his children. Lu Jing, Xiaoqi, and Li Jiai all had a daughter. It's just that he subconsciously looked towards Su Yan. Su Yan, who was being stared at, pursed her lips and waved at the little boy and little girl in the distance. Mom! Su Yan didn't say anything. She was using her actions to prove herself. This pair of twins were her babies. 4 adults and 5 children. 9 pairs of eyes. The children's eyes were clear and filled with curiosity as they looked towards Yi Zichen. The women's eyes were like water, full of deep love. There was also an unspeakable longing. I'm back. Yi Zichen didn't know what to say. The moment he said that, the women's eyes reddened. Yang Jian and the great sage burst into laughter when they saw this. Ha ha ha, let's go. Go home. This time, his mood was much different from the last time he came back. He had been upgraded to a father. Yi, come, this is the present Daddy prepared for you. Yi Zichen waved at the girl in white. She was the one who'd asked Yi Zichen questions in the beginning, and had left him speechless for a long time. She was Yi. Xiaoqi's baby was also the oldest among them. Yi tilted his head and ran over, then saw Yi Zichen take out a white robe. Aren't you embarrassed? Bailey couldn't help but twitch his mouth. Hearing that, the corner of Yi Zichen's mouth twitched. What could he do? He had just taken this robe from the second universe. Hollow ore forging. The hollow ore was very precious in the first universe. In terms of the value of this equipment, it was definitely extremely high. However, in terms of the intention, it was a little lacking. Actually, he had plenty of universe-level equipment. They were all dropped from the twin-winged lizard when he was in closed-door cultivation. However, in his opinion, these pieces of equipment were not as good as the armor forged from the hollow Oregon. As long as Yi wore it, even universe-level people would not be able to harm her. Come, Daddy will help you put it on. The hollow ore was extremely malleable, so after Yi Zichen put it on, it turned into a white dress similar to before. The girl's eyes were filled with surprise. As she blinked, the dress turned blue, then pink. Ha ha ha! Yi laughed happily. Yi Zichen also squinted his eyes. Do you like it? I like it. Come, kiss Daddy. Yi pouted and kissed Yi Zichen's cheek. Then, Yi Zichen called Yi San, Yi Si and Yi Wu over. Don't be surprised at the names of these babies. I heard that it was Lu Jing's terrible idea. She said that they would forget their names in the future. But Su Yan and the others actually agreed with this idea. Actually, they were thinking for Yi Zichen, who didn't want their babies to have an outstanding name, who asked their man to have so many women around him. Last time, it was Big Sister Yumei and the others who were in closed-door cultivation. Now that they all came out, Who knows how many new members the Yi family would have. Thus, they decided to just do it like that. They would decide the babies' names according to their birth order. A group of cute little princesses surrounded Yi Zichen. Yi Zichen helped them put on the hollow or sets one by one. Not long later, they started to change like Yi, causing the entire living room to be filled with their laughter. The only one who didn't get a gift was Yi. He tilted his head and looked at his older sisters playing so happily, then pouted and looked at Yi Zichen, then at his older sisters. Yi. Hearing Yi Zichen's call, Yi ran over as if he was stepping on the wind. What I gave you is different from what they gave you. As he spoke, a small and exquisite sword suddenly appeared in Yi Zichen's hand. The sword was completely black. The moment the sword appeared in the room, all the adults in the room looked over. Yi, you can't give him this. Su Yan immediately ran over with a frown. Yi is still young, he doesn't understand a lot of things. If you give him this weapon, what if he randomly injures himself? Just give him the same as Yi and the others. I think it's better to give this weapon to Yang Jian and the others. My son, I believe that he is worthy of this sword. Yi Zichen didn't listen to Su Yan's advice and raised his eyebrows towards Yi. Do you like it? Yi didn't say anything. He merely looked at the sword in Yi Zichen's hand in shock and nodded heavily. Then this sword is yours. Warrior-level weapon. This was the highest-level sword-type weapon that Yi Zichen had obtained since he went to the second universe. For some reason, he just felt like Yi was suited to use a sword. Perhaps it was because he himself used a sword, so he hoped that his son would use a sword as well. Yi reached out his hand and caught the sword. When the sword landed in his hand, it turned into a size similar to his height. From now on, when Daddy isn't home, you'll be the only man in the family. You have to use this sword to protect moms and sisters, okay? Yi nodded. His small eyes were filled with determination. Chapter 2478. The entire living room was filled with the laughter of the little fellows. As the little fellows ran around the room, Yi Zichen looked at them with a smile filled with love. From that moment onwards, his identity changed. Or rather, he gained another identity. Dad. That word represented responsibility. It was heavy. Hey. At that moment, the great sage walked over and winked at Yi Zichen. What are you feeling? Monkey, if you really want to know, then can't you go and have a child with your family? Yang Jian twitched his mouth. TSK, isn't it just a son? What are you pretending for? The great sage rolled his eyes at Yang Jian. Yang Jian didn't get angry. I have one, you don't. Yi has one, you don't either. Tell me, aren't you angry? Yang Jian, you have a son as well? Yi Zichen was shocked. I do. Yang Jian nodded with a smile. Yang Jian nodded with a smile. 1 year later than your children. Actually, I saw how cute your family's Yi is, so I wanted to get the third princess to have one as well. In the end, she gave birth to a boy, and he gets so angry that he beats the little guy up every day. I feel bad just looking at him, the great sage muttered. Stop bullshitting. My son is only King half a year old. How could I bear to beat him up? Yang Jian said angrily, then changed the topic. Even if I beat him up, I'll have to wait until he's 2 or 3 years old. Ha, then my nephew is too pitiful, Yi Zichen laughed. Yi Zichen also laughed, then took out a set of hollow ores set armor. Just treat it as an uncle giving this to my nephew. He was getting closer. Only then did the great sage notice how good the hollow ores set was. His eyes glowed as he watched Yang Jian put on the equipment himself. I'm giving it to my nephew. Wear it my ass. Yang Jian laughed. I'll enjoy such a good thing for him first, then I'll give it to him when he's older. Ha, this armor is so much better than mine before. Is there a need for you to be so useless? Yi, I want one too. The great sage frowned bitterly. The great sage frowned bitterly, his eyes filled with anticipation. Why don't you prepare a set for my son first? I'll give it to him later. Say you two, that's enough. They were two cosmic system states, cosmic system states. Monkey Yang Jian, you two are cosmic system states now? Yi Zichen opened his eyes wide in shock. Ha ha, are you afraid now? Yang Jian and the great sage suddenly burst into laughter. In the past 2 years, our strength has improved by leaps and bounds. The main reason is that the teachers you found are not bad. Even though there were many parts that weren't very clear, once the two of us came back and studied it, we understood everything. They broke through to the cosmic system state. Yi Zichen was truly shocked. It had to be said that even the humans in the universe could go to a proper universe university without special training. Breaking through to the nebula system, a few decades was considered relatively fast. It seemed that Yang Jian and the great sage lived up to their reputation as the two war gods of the heavenly court. Their comprehension ability and talent were both astonishing. Let me tell you, it's not just the two of us, there are a few other cosmic system states in the Milky Way. I'll let you guess who they are. The ones in this room don't count. The great sage glanced at the kitchen. Yi Zichen subconsciously glanced in that direction. Only then did he notice. The Shui sisters, Yume, Zuemo, Su Yen, Kiki and Yi Rong. They were all cosmic system states. Li Jiai and Lu Jing were also peak star level. Is there a need to be so exaggerated? Yi Zichen had asked the Spirit Phoenix Supremacy to help select a few slaves to be teachers in order to help the great sage and the others take fewer detours, but he never would have guessed the results would be so obvious. Who else? Big Sister Lu must be in the nebula system state, right? Isn't that obvious? The great sage twitched his mouth. She's almost at the universe level. Say, my sister-in-law is truly talented. She's even more hard-working than me and Yang Jian. Yin Shang and Go Yuzhan are about the same. That's right. What about the others, Great Emperor Bai'an? Not bad, Yi Zi. The great sage patted Yi Zichen's shoulder. It seems like you understand our people's talents quite well. Yes, that's all you've said. Yang Jian smiled and nodded. Right now, our Milky Way galaxy can't really be considered a Milky Way galaxy. There are only 3 planets of life: God, immortal, and human. We have the ones you just mentioned at the cosmic system level, about 50 at the star level, and about 400 at the domain level. Not bad. Yi Zichen nodded slightly. This number had already far exceeded his expectations. It seemed like the Milky Way galaxy's future was rather optimistic. At the very least, the humans in the Milky Way galaxy were quite talented. What about the number of God and immortal levels? There's no need to mention that, Yang Jian shrugged. Don't even think about how much you're hoping for in the past 2 years. Roughly 300,000 people have ascended from Earth to the immortal planet. But there's one person worth paying attention to. Who? That's him. With that, Yang Jian waved his hand, and an image appeared in front of Yi Zichen. Within the image sat a cross-legged youth. The youth looked rather young, but what caught Yi Zichen's attention was the fact that Su Lu was nearby. It's been 2 years. This youth broke through directly from Earth to the God planet. He's currently in Bai'an's territory. 2 years. Yi Zichen exclaimed. Talent. Right, why did I see Big Sister Lu here just now? That youth seems to be my little brother. A hint of a smile flashed through the great sage's eyes. The long-armed ape monkey. He died in battle for Su Lu's sake. That's not right. The timing doesn't match. Yi Zichen frowned. In truth, I'm not sure what's going on either. The great sage laughed. But little Sister Lu thinks he is, and I think he is too. Right, this person's surname is Yi too. He's from your family. His name is Yian, that's pretty good. Yi Zichen knew very well that Su Lu had been brooding over the long-armed ape monkey's death. Even if she didn't show it, However, when she saw Su Yan and Su Zhe reunite with Yi Zichen and Yin Shang, the loneliness in her eyes became increasingly obvious. Now, his soul had returned to that of a youth. To Big Sister Lu this was a form of redemption. That's right. From the looks of it, he seems to be ignoring Big Sister Lu. Yi Zichen grinned. The great sage nodded. That's right. Back then, he spent so much effort pursuing little sister Lu. Now, he's ignoring her. Last time I went to see him, he said he wanted to become someone like you, and that he didn't have time for romance. Ha ha ha, Big Sister Lu didn't beat him up? No, but it seems like she wants to beat you up. You'd best pray for your own good. The great sage hid his intentions. Yi Zichen grinned awkwardly. What the hell does that have to do with me? But before long, he smiled and sighed. That was something to be happy about. Everyone is doing fine. Chapter 2479. The banquet ended. The entire banquet was filled with cheers and laughter. After that, the great sage and the others called over the great emperors of the god race. Yi Zichen took out the hollow armor he'd prepared for them, the weapons he'd obtained in the second universe. Big Sister Lu came as well. After receiving the weapons and armor, she hurriedly left and returned to the youth's side. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed. Happy times always seemed to pass by quickly. Surrounded by his treasures, Yi Zichen's smile never faltered. He personally taught Yi Er how to use the sword. When he saw the little fellow, who hadn't even been 2 years old, wielding a black longsword in his hands and dancing earnestly in the courtyard, Yi Zichen couldn't help but grin. Late at night, the little fellows were tired and clamored to find their mothers to rest. Yi Zichen stood silently in the courtyard. He looked up at the starry sky. How have you been feeling lately? The spirit phoenix walked over and stood beside Yi Zichen. She also looked up at the starry sky. The nights here are pretty beautiful. That's right. Yi Zichen smiled and looked up at the countless stars. It's precisely because of this kind of beauty that I don't want those fellows from the universe to enslave this place and ruin its beauty. You still remember your responsibilities. Not bad. How could I forget? Yi Zichen sighed. I've always remembered it. How could I forget? The Milky Way galaxy had only just begun. Whether it was the strength of the experts or the overall strength of the human race on the other planet, everything had only just begun. Everything was developing in a good direction, but at a time like this, he couldn't afford to relax. Everything before him, it was too beautiful. So beautiful that Yi Zichen felt like it wasn't real. He'd always worried that behind this beauty, there might be some sort of despairing danger. Before the galaxy was absolutely safe, all of this beauty was fake. No one could be sure that at dawn, all of this beauty would vanish into thin air. What followed would be irresistible despair. I haven't seen you around all this time. You're here all of a sudden. Shouldn't I go too? Yi Zichen pursed his lips and smiled. The spirit phoenix glanced at him and nodded. That's right. Actually, I don't want to ruin your family reunion, but we really should go. The hegemony tournament will officially begin soon. All right, I understand. Yi Zichen nodded. Wait until tomorrow. I'll say goodbye to them. The next day, the light of dawn fell upon every land of the divine race. The one who woke Yi Zichen up wasn't Su Yan, nor was it Xia Kiki. Instead, it was Yi Er, who was holding a black sword. Daddy, let's practice the sword. Yi Zichen picked him up with a smile and gently rubbed his head. I won't practice the sword today. Dad, there are some things I need to take care of. Oh. Yi Er nodded obediently. He grabbed the long sword and ran to the yard, waving it. She looked at his young and serious face. Yi Zichen let out a deep sigh and returned to the living room. You're leaving again. The great sage's eyes widened, while everyone else in the room frowned at Yi Zichen. Leaving again? He had only been back for a short while, and he was leaving again. I don't want to. Xia Kiki ran over and grabbed Yi Zichen's arm with a frown. I don't want Yi to leave. You've only been back for a bit more than 2 months, why are you leaving again? Isn't it better to stay here a bit longer? What are you doing? You're a mom already. Yi Zichen patted Xia Kik's head, then turned around to look at Su Yen and company. Although they didn't directly rush up like Xia Kiki, the reluctance in their eyes could not be concealed. The time they had spent together was truly too short. Ignoring everything else, Yi Zichen was about to leave again before the babies could truly get close to him. Actually, I don't want to leave either. But I have no other choice. Yi Zichen let out a long sigh. The great sage frowned. How is there no other choice? Yi Zi, we all understand why you're doing everything outside. We are also trying our best to help you. But is it really that short of time? At the very least, you have to enjoy a childhood with your children. The great sage's words instantly pierced through Yi Zichen's heart. He looked down at the babies hiding beside their mothers. The girls all had dejected looks on their faces, but they didn't dare to speak. After this parting, I really might not be able to accompany them as they grow up. I still have to leave. Yi Zichen hesitated for a moment, then let out a deep sigh and made up his mind. He couldn't do it for his own selfish desires. He had to ignore the entire Milky Way galaxy. Although he wouldn't be able to accompany his babies as they grew up, and he might not be a good father, he felt like this sacrifice was worth it for the future of the Milky Way galaxy. People always had to make choices. Perhaps some people felt that staying with the God race for 10-odd years wouldn't have too much of an impact. The situation in the universe was constantly changing. No one could guarantee what kind of people would invade the Milky Way galaxy in the future. Tianhai. He was a sovereign-level expert. Yet, his galaxy was still being invaded. His situation also served as a warning to Yi Zichen. He had to become stronger endlessly. To become stronger. To ensure the safety of the Milky Way galaxy. He wanted to make sure that the people around him could still smile as happily as they did before. Easy. I've made up my mind. Great sage Yang Jian, don't try to persuade me anymore. Yi Zichen acted very coldly. When he said this, everyone around him stopped trying to dissuade him. After them, nobody could change Yi Zichen's mind once he made up his mind. Why don't we go together? Right at this moment, the venerable spirit phoenix suddenly walked out. Sis, our spaceship has a lot of space. If we really can't bear to part ways, then we might as well leave together. Your friends and family members are pretty strong, so they can protect themselves in the universe, the spirit phoenix smiled. Then let's go together. They can come along, so you won't have to worry about their situation in the Milky Way galaxy. They can also watch your situation in the virtual network while you participate in the war of supremacy. All of a sudden, everyone's eyes lit up. Yi Zichen frowned. Then what about the Milky Way galaxy? Don't you have a lot of slaves? The spirit phoenix shrugged. If the invaders aren't strong, then your slaves will be enough to deal with them. If the invaders are very strong, then there's no point for them to stay here. How about we all follow them? Chapter 2480. Wow! A huge spaceship. Yi Zichen ran around the spaceship with the princesses, while the others also looked around in shock. Oh yeah. You all brought the anonymous virtual helmet, right? When we leave the Milky Way galaxy, you will be able to enter the virtual network and truly come into contact with the universe. There are plenty of rooms in the spaceship. You guys can split them among yourselves. Yi Zichen didn't know whether they heard him or not. All he could see was that their eyes were filled with curiosity as they walked around the spaceship. Big sis. Yi Zichen pretty much explained everything he needed to. Yi Zichen walked over to the cockpit and looked at the spirit phoenix, who was resting with her eyes closed. Why did you suggest bringing them all out? Don't you want to? The spirit phoenix tilted her head and glanced at Yi Zichen. What's wrong with letting them out? That way they can understand the universe better, and understand what you are shouldering right now. You need to understand. That's not important. Yizichin didn't really care whether they understood or not. He also believed that they would definitely understand his actions, even if he didn't explain it. Then what do you think is important? The Spirit Phoenix looked at him in confusion. Your Milky Way galaxy will definitely enter the universe in the future. That is inevitable. Ignoring everything else, do you think the Milky Way galaxy can still hide after the universe fuses? Of course not. Yizichin naturally understood that very well. The fusion of the universe would be a huge reshuffle for the first universe. Any galaxy or universe country would experience a huge change. The dark spots in the Milky Way galaxy would naturally disappear. Yizichin also understood that, which was why he was in such a hurry to establish his own power in the second universe. Then what's wrong with letting them come into contact with the universe? Only by coming into contact with it in advance can they gain a better understanding. What do you think will happen if they just rely on their imagination? The Spirit Phoenix frowned. But if we pull them all out of the Milky Way galaxy, then who is going to notify us if something really happens? Yizichin frowned as well. Do you really care about the Milky Way galaxy? At that very moment, the Spirit Phoenix suddenly revealed a secretive smile, and looked meaningfully into Yizichin's eyes. According to my observations during this period of time, the people you really care about are these people, right? As soon as the Venerable Spirit Phoenix's voice fell, Yizichin was speechless for some reason. What she said was the truth. If compared to the entire Milky Way galaxy, perhaps the people on the spaceship were more important. You've always taken it upon yourself to protect the Milky Way galaxy. You've forced this burden onto yourself. Venerable Spirit Phoenix shook her head. I'm tired because of you. Also, I don't think you're selfish at all. Humans are just like that. No one really has the righteousness to save the world. Humans were selfish to the core. It's some people, like you, who force themselves to do great things, which gives birth to those who seem to take the world as their own responsibility. At this moment, the spacecraft had already started moving. The Venerable Spirit Phoenix chuckled as she projected a projection into the cabin of the flying ship, allowing the people inside to see the vastness outside. Yizichin also lowered his head silently. Not everyone here. What do you want to do? All of a sudden, the Venerable Spirit Phoenix glared at him. You still want to bring out the people you want to protect? Does the Milky Way galaxy even have anything to do with you? With that, the Venerable Spirit Phoenix smiled. You still have to leave some behind. Only if they stay behind can you continue to push yourself to protect the Milky Way. Didn't you just say that humans are selfish? Yizichin asked. I did. The Venerable Spirit Phoenix did not deny it at all. Venerable Spirit Phoenix did not deny it at all. But this world also needs fools like you. Without you, this world would be finished. The Venerable Spirit Phoenix rolled her eyes. You still have to protect the Milky Way galaxy. I naturally have my reasons for bringing these people out. At least most of the people you truly care about are here. After saying that, the Venerable Spirit Phoenix stretched her waist lazily. Otherwise, what are you going to do with the humans in the Milky Way galaxy? Are you going to give them up? No matter what, you're someone who came from there. It's a bit unreasonable to give them up. Women. Yizichin twitched his mouth. The Venerable Spirit Phoenix talked about everything. In the end, even Yizichin felt a bit embarrassed. Clearly, at the very beginning, he was going to protect the entire Milky Way galaxy. In the end, it seemed like he was going to become a deserter. Also, why didn't you think about it? The Venerable Spirit Phoenix squinted her eyes. There are so many life stars, resource stars and stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Do you know how much of a treasure that is? Don't you want it? Aren't you afraid that these resources will become your enemy's weapons? Little fellow, the Milky Way galaxy is a huge treasure. Although it might be rather stressful to protect it, the benefits it can bring you are also delightful. I know. Yizichin rolled his eyes. Then do you know why I brought them out? I know, Yi Zichen shrugged. It's to let them come out and learn about the universe, so that I can focus on the competition without worry. Big sis, I really understand. Don't scold me anymore, I was wrong. If the venerable spirit phoenix continued, Yi Zichen suspected that he would be called a retard. It's good that you know. The venerable spirit phoenix squinted her eyes with a smile. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Let me know when we arrive at Blue River Planet. Go participate in your tournament, and I have to go prepare for my own matters. Big sis, I have something else. Say it. When is White Phoenix coming? Yi Zichen asked. Didn't you say that she ran into some trouble on her way here? It's already been so long, why isn't she here yet? Her. The venerable spirit phoenix hesitated for a moment. She will come in the near future. What? Are you a bit unhappy that I'm following you? No, absolutely not. Yi Zichen shook his head. The venerable spirit phoenix pushed open the door to the cockpit and waved towards him. I'm going to rest. With that, the venerable spirit phoenix let out a deep sigh. This guy. He doesn't know why I brought these people here. But it's good that he doesn't know. It saves him the trouble of being distracted. The venerable spirit phoenix glanced outside the ship, then pursed her lips meaningfully and left. White Phoenix. He's really concerned about you. Unfortunately, Big Sis can't let you out yet. You should understand Big Sis, right? Chapter 2481. Captain. We've already entered Thunder Universe country. We're in by AO Galaxy. Universe Exploration Team. Mingbu listened to the reports from the crew, his eyebrows furrowed. Thunder Universe country. By AO Galaxy. If he didn't remember wrongly, if they continued forward, they would reach the Milky Way galaxy. That was a human-restricted area. Songyu Galaxy had given a clear order in the universe. No human ships were allowed to enter the Milky Way galaxy. Unless it was an urgent situation, very few would travel through the Milky Way galaxy. We're heading according to the coordinates? Mingbu furrowed his eyebrows and took a deep breath. For some reason, he had a bad feeling in his heart, and it was very strong. Yes. The young man who was promoted to vice-captain spoke. Kaluo, go confirm our coordinates. Where exactly is our destination? Mingbu spoke. Yes. Not even 2 minutes later, Kaluo hurriedly ran back, his eyes filled with an indescribable fear. Captain, it's the Milky Way, right? Seeing Kaluo's expression, Mingbu roughly knew their destination coordinate. Yes. Kaluo nodded heavily. Damn it. Mingbu waved his fist. Why would the coordinates be at that location? Songyu Galaxy's order was so strict. What if we were to head there and be treated as space pirates? Can we say we're going to scavenge for trash? Kaluo suggested. If we could really scavenge for trash, do you think it would be our turn? Mingbu sighed. All the resources of the Milky Way galaxy. On the surface it seems like Songyu Galaxy is protecting it for you, but it's actually all in their pockets. This isn't important. The important thing is, that place has already been destroyed. Where would they get the galaxy? Fake intelligence. Kaluo frowned. Doesn't seem like it. Mingbu hesitated before shaking his head. If it's fake intelligence, no one would be able to make that projection look so real. Furthermore, if it's fake intelligence, why would it land in our hands? Then, could it be a spatial dark spot? The moment Kaluo's words landed, Mingbu looked in shock at the youth before him. Go check the projection we got. Maybe it's true. Before Mingbu could finish, his AI suddenly alerted him that someone had sent him an invitation in the virtual network. His consciousness sank into the virtual network. Tulip family. Kaluo, the Tulip family is looking for me. I'll deal with them. You continue testing the projection. Yes. As soon as he finished speaking, Mingbu's consciousness entered the virtual network. When he reappeared, he was in a luxurious manner. This was the headquarters of the Tulip family. Although he was an outer member, he could still have a house in the virtual network. Sir Mingbu, the elder invites you over. When he walked out of the room, there were already people waiting respectfully outside. Heh! Your Excellency Mingbu, this form of address is really unfamiliar. Mingbu couldn't help but sneer. These people working in the virtual network were all dogs that relied on their master's power. Because they were close to the elders, seeing how the outer circle members were acting all high and mighty, not putting anyone in their eyes at all. This was also the reason why he was too lazy to come to the virtual world. These people, not only could he not deal with them in the virtual network, he would even be disgusted by them. At this moment, this dog servant suddenly called him Sir. From then on, he could feel the elder's attitude towards him. This made him a little curious. Why would the elder suddenly look for him? He didn't think that you would tell the elder about his report. Sir Mingbu, what are you talking about? The elder is already waiting in the front hall. Let's go. Lead the way. About 10 minutes later, Mingbu arrived at the front hall of the Tulip family headquarters. When he arrived, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. In this front hall, there were actually 3 elders and 10 members of the direct line of descent from the inner circle. Mingbu is here. The moment he saw Mingbu, an elder in the hall came to welcome him. Third elder. He nodded lightly at the elder. Mingbu looked around the hall. Among the inner circle members of the elder's direct line of descent, Yu was actually among them. At this moment, he didn't look particularly good. But he didn't dare to speak carelessly. TSK. I'm really overwhelmed by the favor. To think that the 3 elders and so many direct descendants would come to personally receive me. Touched. So touched. Mingbu's tone was full of playfulness. Mingbu, don't be too proud. This is the headquarters. Standing in front of you are 3 elders. You'd better show some respect. You couldn't stand Mingbu's proud appearance and angrily rebuked him. You, shut up. The third elder frowned. Mingbu didn't even bother to look at Yu. Judging from the attitude in front of him, he already knew what kind of attitude he had to maintain. May I know why the elder asked me to come? Some time ago, you had the highest level of information you wanted to tell the family. The third elder said pleasantly, I heard it's information about a native star system. Yes. Can you tell me now? No. Mingbu shrugged and shook his head. Yu said that I need to investigate the specific strength of the natives before reporting to the family. Moreover, a star system doesn't have much impact on the family. I'm also too lazy to report. Mingbu, I can understand your emotions. The third elder still had a pleasant smile on his face. I will also punish Yu for his problem. That star system. Can you tell me the specific coordinates? I don't want to say. Mingbu shook his head. I've already prepared to explore that star system myself. Of course, I will follow the family's rules and pay 5% of my earnings to the family. Mingbu, you won't be able to explore that star system. Suddenly, the third elder's gaze sunk. What I'm saying now is for your own good. You better give the coordinates to the family and let the family send elites to investigate. The family is willing to give you a high-level guest position. How about it? High-level guest. Mingbu froze when he heard that. Such a position in the family was second only to the elders. No. I've already decided. Mingbu, don't be so ungrateful. Yu stared and said, giving you a high-level guest, you're just a universe-level small fry. Giving you such a position, you should be happy. And you're still so smug. Who do you think you are? You want to explore the Milky Way galaxy left behind by the Milky Way Master? Are you worthy? What did you just say? Milky Way galaxy? Mingbu frowned. Yes. The star system you're going to is the Milky Way galaxy. You better. I understand. Thank you for the information. Chapter 2482. The Milky Way. This was the galaxy left behind by the Milky Way Master. Mingbu's hands trembled violently as he logged out of the virtual network. The Milky Way Master. once the pinnacle of the human race. The galaxy he left behind. Soon, Mingbu's eyes darkened again. He frowned, and the excitement in his heart faded. He was a rational person. Everyone knew that the treasures left behind by the Milky Way Master were absolutely amazing. But did the Milky Way Master not leave behind some defensive measures when he left behind his treasures? Even if it was set up casually by the Milky Way Master. Even if it was a master of a nation, he would not be able to return. Not to mention their small adventure team. Captain, I found it. There is indeed a dark spot in space. Deputy Captain Crow saw that Mingbu had logged out of the virtual network and hurried over to report. He checked the entire projection according to Mingbu's instructions and found that there was indeed a dark spot in the projection. Captain? Seeing that Mingbu did not speak for a long time, Crow carefully coughed again. Okay, I got it. Mingbu nodded. Faced with this absent-minded response, Crow frowned. Captain, did the Tulip family say anything to you? We don't have to care about them at all. They can say whatever they want to say. Let's just be our resource merchants. Crow comforted. Mingbu shook his head gently. It's not as simple as you think. Go do what you need to do. I need some time to think about it. Yes. Crow retreated from the lounge. Mingbu was still thinking about the Milky Way. The only thing he was concerned about was whether the Milky Way Master had left a defense system inside the Milky Way. Inexplicably, he looked outside again. If there was a defense system, how did the Universe Wanderer obtain the detailed projection of the Milky Way? There was another important point. He would consider the problem of the defense system. The managers of the Tulip family must have considered it. If there was a defense system, even if the Tulip family went all out, it would be useless. They dared to go. This proved that the Milky Way was safe in real time. Mingbu, the Tulip family has sent you an invitation. The voice of Mingbu's AI sounded in his mind. Rejected. At this time, in the Tulip family in the virtual network. He actually dared to reject our invitation. Heiyu's face was ashen. Looking at the rejection page, his entire face was a little hideous. Who does he think he is? A universe-level outer circle member actually dares to ignore our invitation. He has the capital now. The third elder in the hall heaved a sigh of relief when he saw the rejected page. The Milky Way. Our Tulip family does not need to obtain all of the wealth contained within. Even a small portion would be a qualitative leap for our Tulip family. If the Milky Way galaxy's coordinates are in Mingbu's hands, if we want to get, we have to beg him. Milky Way. The destruction of such a huge galaxy was very sudden, but it was also very strange. At that time, almost everyone suspected that the Master of the Galaxy would leave a backup plan. With the power of the Supreme, it was impossible for him to let his galaxy disappear just like that. It was the countless years that followed. No one had found any sign of the Milky Way. Gradually this thought disappeared. Who would have thought? At this moment, the Milky Way suddenly appeared again. A Milky Way. Not to mention whether or not the Master of the Galaxy left any treasures there, just the resources there were enough to tempt anyone. Third Grandpa. How did you know he had the Milky Way galaxy's coordinates? Heiyu frowned. He actually didn't know anything. Everything he heard from the third elder, only then did he know that the galaxy Mingbu was talking about was the Milky Way. When he found out about this, he was shocked. However, he was more suspicious. Of course I know. The third elder didn't explain to Heiyu. He knew it was the Milky Way because someone found him, mentioned Mingbu, and obtained the Milky Way galaxy's coordinate. He heaved a long sigh. The third elder's gaze towards him wasn't very friendly either. If it wasn't for him, the Tulip family would have obtained the Milky Way galaxy's coordinates long ago. One had to know that at the beginning, Mingbu was prepared to tell this news to the family. If it was any other family member, they might have already been expelled by now. However, Heiyu was the next patriarch. Even though the third elder was angry, he could only let it go. Continue sending invitations to Minbu. No matter how many times he is rejected, he must still be invited. Also, the invitation note states that as long as he is willing to reveal the Milky Way galaxy's coordinates, he will be an honorary elder of the Tulip family for life. Also, the family is willing to reward him with 20 billion universe dollars. Third Grandpa. Heiyu was stunned. Honorary elder. That was in existence second only to the patriarch. Even the elders were not as high as him. 20 billion universe dollars. This was a terrifying amount of wealth. Just do as I tell you to. I really have some doubts now. Why did your father choose you as the heir to the patriarch? Heiyu, don't say that I didn't warn you. If you don't do this well, I will propose to your father to reselect the patriarch's successor. In an instant, Heiyu's face suddenly turned ashen. He never thought that things would be so serious. I understand. Heiyu nodded heavily and sent an invitation to Minbu. Minbu. The Tulip family's invitation came again. This time, they added an additional message. If you are willing to reveal the Milky Way galaxy's coordinates to them, you will be an honorary elder of the family. They will also offer you 20 billion universe dollars as a reward. What? Hearing this news, Minbu was completely shocked. Honorary elder. 20 billion universe dollars. The Tulip family had really gone all out. One must know that the Tulip family's annual net profit was only a few tens of millions of universe dollars. Help me calculate. How long will it take for the Tulip family's headquarters to reach here? 2 years and 6 months. The AI replied. I understand. Minbu hesitated for a while before revealing a smile. Help me reply. Give me the title of honorary elder and 20 billion universe dollars now. I can share the Milky Way galaxy's coordinates with them. 2.5 years was enough. During this period, he would be able to mine a large amount of resources. By the time the Tulip family arrived, he would have already made a fortune. Share. No problem,